Yeah, welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. We're in the very beginning stages here, Pearl, but the news came down yesterday from ESPN that the Bears have requested an interview with Mike McCarthy. We maybe heard some snippets about this over the holiday break, but I love it, and I think that it's great for both parties. I don't think Cowboy fans are really in love with McCarthy right now. I don't know if McCarthy is exactly what this team needs because he's had 4 years with Dallas, and they haven't won a meaningful playoff game. They sent Tom Brady into retirement, so I guess that's something. But they haven't gotten to the NFC Championship game. And I think the Bears is the perfect landing spot for McCarthy. Young quarterback. Mike McCarthy can develop young quarterbacks. They need such a toe-up, ground-up, glow-up. If you're the Bears, Mike McCarthy can come in. He can get that program going in the right track.
Really? I feel like it's not just a retread. What's a double retread? It's a retread tread. I mean, is there any excitement bringing Mike McCarthy in? I can't believe you're so excited about this. It feels like, okay, we got Mike McCarthy. Maybe he'll make Caleb Williams adequate. Is that the goal? The other thing is, at the end of the day, you can bring in Mike McCarthy. You're still the Bears. I worry that the problems are much bigger than coach. And even as dysfunctional as Dallas is, at least they have a history of being a playoff team. You still have a lot of problems in Chicago. And I'm not sure Mike McCarthy's the answer to this strange structure with GM Ryan Poles and team president Kevin Warren, and who knows what's going on in ownership. I just keep coming back to this same thing with all these situations. Bad owners have bad teams, and I don't know if Mike McCarthy's going to answer any of that. I don't think I want somebody more dynamic than Mike McCarthy. I'm sorry. Is that too much to ask for?
Well, to your point, though, if it's bad ownership in Chicago, or it's going to be a meddling team president and Kevin Warren, or a GM that you're not sure is all that good at his job, whatever it's going to be, listen, Mike McCarthy, this is like working backwards. He's been with Jerry. Everything else is going to feel like JV. If you're dealing with owners or complicated buildings or power structures or what have you, this is like working backwards in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. He's already been to Mike Tyson. It's the end. He's already seen the toughest situation you can deal with in terms of meddling, getting involved. Now it's like working back. Now you can handle Glass Joe. That's what the Bears would be to Mike McCarthy. And here's the thing. I don't think that it would be making Caleb Williams adequate. I think that's unfair to McCarthy, quite frankly. I think Mike McCarthy was very integral in Aaron Rodgers' development. I think he has shown that he can develop younger quarterbacks and do a good job. I don't think it would be, you're not shortchanging Caleb Williams, in my opinion, by giving him Mike McCarthy. You can do a whole lot worse. And it doesn't have to be like the innovative play caller, although I don't think Mike McCarthy's, I don't love his play calling. It doesn't have to be this cutting edge, Dan Campbell go for it on every fourth down that develops Caleb Williams. He needs like starting from square one, and McCarthy can do that and do that very well.
Well, okay, so if he's not this great play caller, then what is it that he's doing that's so, cutting edge about developing a quarterback? I don't understand.
I think that you could ask Aaron Rodgers, and did Mike McCarthy help Aaron Rodgers? And who does Caleb Williams say is his number one absolute favorite quarterback of all time is Aaron Rodgers. And you've got the guy who was there from the ground up with Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, he happened to be there when Rodgers ascended. I'm not sure I'm giving Mike McCarthy full credit for Aaron Rodgers. It's not like he's not Andy Reid. You're describing him like he is like the quarterback whisperer, and I'm not sure that's the case.
Dak Prescott, MVP candidate with Mike McCarthy.
He didn't develop Dak Prescott.
No, he didn't develop Dak Prescott.
Had many Pro Bowls before McCarthy got there.
But no MVPs.
And I don't agree with you that Dallas' structure is so complicated. Like, everyone knows the deal. Like, Jerry and Steven run the show, and Will McClay makes the picks. And, I'm not sure that this Chicago thing is a lot simpler than Dallas. Dallas, you know exactly what's going on. Dallas has all sorts of good players. Honestly, think about the NFC North. If Mike McCarthy comes in this position, no one's going to be like, oh, man, watch out for the Bears. They're going to be like this irrelevant, the Bears might, they might go 9-8 one year. They might be a little troublesome. They're not challenging those other three, teams with the young, great quarterbacks. It's just not happening with Mike McCarthy. They are not scary to me at all.
I disagree. This Bears team, and again, the news is that they've requested to interview Mike McCarthy. Now, the reason why we're in this predicament in the first place is because Mike McCarthy is operating right now without a contract. So Jerry has yet to make a decision. And Manny, can we hear the soundbite from Jerry Jones after the Cowboys season officially ended on Sunday with that loss to the Commanders? He says he's got all the information to make a decision. He's just not making it yet.
Have you made up your mind on Mike McCarthy?
No. Well, the point is that all that I'm going to look at, that I was answering that question, and that was, does the outcome of this game really impact his future? And I said no. All of the things I'll consider are Hayes in the barn.
Okay, so make a decision. I don't understand if the hay's in the barn and you've got all the data you need, which, by the way, I like this. It should never come down to one game when a guy's been in your building for 4 years. But what's the holdup? Now, it's Tuesday. It's not like it's a week from now, but you have this sort of exclusive negotiating period. They hold Mike McCarthy's exclusive rights, if you will, until January 14th. Mm-hmm. So unless Jerry Jones blesses the ability for Mike McCarthy to interview with the Bears, he cannot do so until he becomes an actual full-on free agent, and that's a week from today.
Yeah, and I don't think that the Bears need to hire somebody by January 14th. They can easily wait. But I mean, I would like to hear from Cowboys fans. Of course you want Mike McCarthy gone. Of course you want somebody new, right? Like, is any Cowboy fan saying, please keep McCarthy? So that'd be good for the Cowboys if McCarthy left. And it's nothing against McCarthy. Like, that message has gone stale. Yeah. You said, like, you'd be excited for him. Like, picture last year in the playoffs, they're 12-5. Matt LaFleur brings a Packers team in there. They blow the doors off the Cowboys. I feel like it's ironic, like somehow McCarthy's energy, like McCarthy's stock has gone up after this season. Like last year, everyone was down on McCarthy, and now McCarthy's the answer to a new team. I can't believe like he's going to get another job. They were not good this year. Okay. They were, and I understand Dak was hurt. They weren't good when Dak was there. Like, and they're going to be even worse next year if McCarthy stays. Like, this is not the answer. Like, you need Sean McVay, you need Kyle Shanahan, you need a guy to come in there and just rip it up and start anew and really build something.
Okay, you're talking about from the Cowboys' perspective.
No, I'm talking about the Cowboys and the Bears.
Okay, but
same dynamic.
No, not same dynamic. Totally different dynamic. The Cowboys are multiple 12 games a year winning team who goes to the playoffs, and it's no doubt that the one and only goal is Super Bowl. The Chicago Bears have not won a playoff game since 2010. They've only made the playoffs twice since 2010. Guys, it's 2025. It's not the same. You don't have the same ultimate goal to win a Super Bowl. Yeah, sure. But with Caleb Williams going into his second year, that's false. It's not the same. The Cowboys, it's Super Bowl or bust. The Bears, there's a lot of levels we got to get to before Super Bowl even becomes in the potential outlook. You've got to make sure Caleb Williams doesn't turn into a bust. You've got to make sure this organization is not a laughingstock. There's so many baby steps that have to happen for Chicago that Dallas is already further along. This is why Mike McCarthy makes sense in Chicago. He would be one of the most accomplished Bears head coaches that they've had in years. I mean, he's coming in after Eberflus. This is not a tough act to follow.
They have two-time coach. Did Maggie win Coach of the Year there?
And that is stupid.
Well, not really.
And sometimes the voters get it wrong.
I thought Nagy did a nice job there. Here's the thing. You're describing baby steps. Like the NFL, like you go from laughingstock to Super Bowl team all the time, and you have 5 years with Caleb Williams, or maybe even 4 with cause certainty. Like you got to get to the Super Bowl in that window. Otherwise, the number 1 overall pick, the generational guy, is a failure. I don't see it like baby steps. Look at the Lions. Did they have baby steps? Look at the Rams when they got McVay. Did they have baby steps? Look at the Niners when they got Shanahan off the Tom Sula era or whatever the last coach was. There's no baby steps in the NFL. Like you don't have time to do that. You got to hit the road just going full speed, and you have to take advantage of Caleb Williams on this rookie deal. Like you can't just do baby steps to respectability and then fire McCarthy. What's the point of that?
See, I think that's looking a little too short-sighted. That's the pie in the sky is that, you get to a Super Bowl when your quarterback's on a cheap deal, but how many times does that actually happen?
I think there's been a rookie quarterback in the Super Bowl like 85% of the time this decade.
It can't be a rookie quarterback. There's literally never been a rookie quarterback.
A rookie deal. But I think almost every Super Bowl, except for like 2 or 3, have not had one of the quarterbacks on a rookie contract.
Okay, and then what happens the moment after that person gets to that big game? You're paying him anyway. So you have to, if you're looking at Caleb Williams, it doesn't matter if you pay him now, if you pay him 3 years from now, 4 years from now. The whole thing is he's got to pan out. And this has got to be your quarterback. You're hoping for the next decade at least, right? Mm-hmm. So if he turns out to be Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, guys who have not gone to the Super Bowl when they were on cheap deals, all of a sudden it's a failure? Absolutely not. You got to keep the long-term goal here with Caleb Williams. You can't just be trying to put this thing on fast forward. You got to actually take the time to develop this dude.
I don't see it that way. How old is Caleb Williams? Is he 22 now? Like, you better make it work fast. So let me ask you this, though. Yeah. Would you rather have Ben Johnson or Mike McCarthy?
For the Bears, Mike McCarthy.
For the Bears.
Mike McCarthy. Ben Johnson has literally never called a coin flip.
Who cares? Like, so nobody who's a great coach called a coin flip before their first job. You got to give this guy his first job. This will be McCarthy's third job. How many coaches have won a Super Bowl in their third job? Okay. I have no data on that.
Okay. So they tried this, Bears fans. Mark Trestman, you did this with Nagy. You did this with Eberflus. You brought in unproven coordinators, and what happened? You're finding a new guy.
Yeah, but so what's the difference? I mean, Andy Reid was an unproven quarterback coach that the Eagles hired, and they went to 5 NFC title games.
You realize you might be talking about one of the greatest coaches of all time here?
Obviously,
Andy Reid
by definition,
going to have the record of the most wins ever. Like, you can't hold everybody to the standard of Andy Reid, Sean McVay. There's a reason there's two of those guys.
Obviously, every great coach has a first job. That's my point. And, I think you're more personally, I think you're more likely to hit gold with a first-timer than a retread. I think it's, again, I don't have data. I know Belichick was technically a retread, but that was a unique case too, because Cleveland was basically moving out of the city and they had all sorts of ownership problems. I'll bet you Belichick, if he stayed in Cleveland, probably could have won. I think generally, like, if I'm an owner, I want somebody to come in I want Ben Johnson. I want the next Sean McVay. I want the next Kyle Shanahan. I want the next 1998 Andy Reid. That's who I want in my building. Yeah, I actually might want Mike McCarthy in 2008. I don't want Mike McCarthy now. I'm having trouble. This idea that the Bears just have to get okay too, it feels like you're selling them short a little bit.
I never said okay. I said that Caleb Williams has to develop and Mike McCarthy can do that. And the goal for Dallas is always Super Bowl or bust, Super Bowl or bust. For the Bears, who have made 2 playoff appearances in the last 15 years, it's not Super Bowl or bust, and that'd be silly to even say it. You're delusional if you're thinking that. You got to.
Well, were the Lions delusional when they hired Dan Campbell?
Okay, so here's the thing about the Lions, right? And I get it that Ben Johnson is the offensive coordinator, and he's the hot name right now. But he also inherited a quarterback in Jared Goff who had already been through a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, Jared Goff had been to a Super Bowl. He had been discarded by his team. He already had a lot of institutional knowledge of the league. It's a very different assignment to be coaching Caleb Williams, who has one mediocre, weird season under his belt. You're taking on a very different kind of guy. Jared Goff didn't need to be developed necessarily.
Jared Goff was basically not going to get a starting job in the NFL. He was a journeyman by the time he got there. Those last 2 seasons in LA were bad. Just bad. No other team in the league was even having Jared Goff starting. It's not like he inherited some great quarterback.
I'm not saying that, but he did have McVay for 4 years, right? So he was
right. Well, and he got worse and worse and worse.
Well, I don't know if he got worse and worse and worse. I think a lot of things change. I think that getting to the Super Bowl, losing in the way that they did, I think that was really hard for both McVay and probably Goff. And then they paid him, and then it becomes a little harder to build your roster, obviously, when you pay Jared Goff all that money.
Well, what are you talking about? Because Stafford came right in and won like crazy.
And Stafford already was in the league for 8 years at that point. And Stafford, quite frankly, was just better than Jared Goff. And Stafford still probably will go down still as a better quarterback as Jared Goff. They just upgraded. But
I'm just saying, you can't say that Ben Johnson won because of Jared Goff. That staff fixed Jared Goff.
I'm just saying Jared Goff was in a very different place than what Caleb Williams. It's a different assignment for a head coach.
Yeah, I
with
would
the two
definitely want Ben Johnson. And I know maybe it's like an NBA draft thing. Like the unknown is way more attractive to me.
Well, always. Door number 3, right? It's
Yeah.
like door number 1.
Not job number 3, not head coaching job number 3. Like I'm just picturing that show where the 3 bachelors line up.
Yeah.
Like you give me handsome Ben Johnson, former backup to TJ Yates at North Carolina, and you give me Mike McCarthy. I'm sorry. I'm going with a young, attractive guy. Does that sound weird? Yeah, that probably sounds pretty weird. Manny's looking at me a little funny.
I want Mike McCarthy right now. Give me this comfortable pair of slippers. I know exactly what I'm getting. I know he knows what to do. And this is a tough one. And I'm not sure if Ben Johnson, again, this is a peculiar situation with the Bears. We've talked about it, right? Peculiar situation. Team president has a lot of power. General manager, we're not really sure. They have a tendency, ownership does, to not have a GM and a coach always on the same timeline. They'll draft a quarterback, then bring in a new head coach and GM who didn't draft that quarterback. They've repeated the same mistake time after time, going back to Jay Cutler. It's just they didn't draft Jay Cutler, but you know what I mean. It's a very odd place. And Mike McCarthy, and I read this in The Athletic, so I appreciate them for pointing this out. Mike McCarthy, who's won 11 playoff games in his career. Mm-hmm. The Bears have won 11 playoff games since 1963.
Yeah, but
they should not turn their nose up at Mike McCarthy.
How many has he won in Dallas? 1, right?
Well, I mean, and that was
against a 8-9 Bucs team that was done.
Listen, they sent Tom Brady straight to the booth.
Get out of here. That meant nothing. The other thing, too, is how has McCarthy done in Dallas since Dan Quinn left? Not good.
Well,
you say comfortable in his slippers. Is that what he wears when he gets the back massage in his private office? I just feel like, come on, McCarthy. He's got to take a couple of years off and watch film of all the games like he lied about last time. There's nothing. If they could get Ben Johnson and they take Mike McCarthy, I think that's a risky move because I know you're not as into Ben Johnson as I am, but there's a good chance he goes somewhere and wins.
Why is Ben Johnson? Why is he not Matt Nagy?
Because first of all, Matt Reed called plays, and because you watch the Lions and you have no idea what's coming on a play-to-play basis. Like Nagy it's really hard. Who's Ben Johnson's Andy Reid?
Well, I have a question. Is the whole offensive line where 3 of those guys are going to the Hall of Fame coming with Ben Johnson?
Why do you keep saying that? There's no 3 Hall of Famers with the Lions. Frank Ragnow and
you don't think Penei Sewell is on?
Penei Sewell's amazing, but then
they're one of the best.
What were those guys
lines
before Ben Johnson got there?
High draft picks and good signings. You say it yourself that the general manager of the Detroit Lions is on one of the all-time heaters. I would love to see, without the offensive line, without Amon-Ra St. Brown, without Sam Laporta.
A second-round pick.
Okay, but these guys are awesome.
Yeah, but I actually like Laporta, for example.
They got Keenan Allen over there in Chicago. You ripped that signing to the high heavens.
And oh my God, was I right about that?
This is what I'm saying.
He needs to leave the building immediately. Keenan Allen, his energy is so done there. Anyway, I think that the Bears I think they do great to get Ben Johnson, especially with Caleb Williams. The thing that I love about the Lions is their run game is so dynamic.
Right.
And the Bears just don't have that. They need to really make life easy for Caleb Williams. And maybe McCarthy can do that, but I'm picturing Dallas. I just don't know that that's going to work. I feel like the upside is again, 9-8 there. And you have Caleb Williams. You might as well shoot for the stars. I think I'd bring in Ben Johnson because you're in a horrible division. You got LaFleur sitting there. You got Dan Campbell sitting there. And who's the other coach? And you got Kevin O'Connell, who doesn't want to leave Minnesota. You really better bring some firepower.
855-212-4227. All right, we get it started with the news that Mike McCarthy, there's been a request to interview him by the Chicago Bears. And to me, win-win. Cowboy fans definitely are done with McCarthy, and I think he could do great work in Chicago. Perloff doesn't see it the same way. He thinks they should go for door number 3, the unknown of Ben Johnson.
Yeah, the unknown.
First-time hire.
Just the by 10 miles hottest name out there who's going to get twice the money of Mike McCarthy because the demand is out of control. Because if you turn on the Lions game, it's just whoa, who's running that offense? Give me that guy.
Yeah, I feel like I've been there, done that with a lot of hottest guys out there and a lot of hot candidates.
Well, you say Matt Nagy. Matt Nagy had never called a play in his life until he got the Chicago job. So and a lot of times they're awesome.
855-212-4227. Is Mike McDaniel awesome? Because he was the hot guy.
He's an awesome play caller. He's a really good play caller.
You said the Miami Dolphins have no future.
No.
Come on.
Yeah, but nobody could say that Mike McDaniel doesn't know how to call a fun play. Like, that guy is definitely a good offensive play caller.
Calling a fun play, and where are they sitting right now? Home. And maybe it's because of Tua,
by the way,
but maybe not.
Ben Johnson's way, way hotter than Mike McDaniel was. Like, they're not even in the same conversation. Like, nobody. I was surprised by Mike McDaniel. Like, that kind of came a little bit out of nowhere. It wasn't like 10 teams were like, give me that guy.
855-212-4227. Okay, lots to do. We get started with the news about McCarthy. Should he interview for the Chicago job, and would this solve a lot of problems on both sides? Meanwhile, Chicago still wants to interview Ben Johnson, so it's not like it's McCarthy's job to have. They're going to put together a lot of different interviews. We got plenty of updates on the coaching cycle, and of course, we got college football playoff semifinals games coming up in 2 days. Is everyone ready for this? Notre Dame, Penn State, Manny's ready. He's got his Penn State sweatshirt on. That's Thursday. It's Tuesday already. It's basically here. Maggie and Perloff, 855-212-4227. What's best? Should the Cowboys keep McCarthy, or should he interview with the Bears? Let's go.
I'm going with a young, attractive guy.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. You know, it's kind of curious, Maggie. We have not heard anything about the Cowboys having any interest in anyone except Mike McCarthy. I've been following the coaching carousel this week. There aren't a lot of names linked there. I mean, like even the traditional ones, like, you know, that Jerry Jones wants to hire Lincoln Riley at some point, or maybe like a Cliff Kingsbury feels like a Cowboys hire.
Kellen Moore always felt like
Kellen
coming
Moore,
back.
right? But you haven't. I have not heard a lot about that. I've wondered, why is Ben Johnson not on Jerry Jones's radar? It does feel like he doesn't want too much shine in that head coaching position. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I don't even think, I mean, Vrabel would have made a lot of sense there too. And it doesn't feel like he's shown any interest there. So at a certain point, like, maybe he's just going to be stuck with Mike McCarthy and it's not going to matter.
Well, maybe he actually likes McCarthy. I mean, there's that part too, but it's weird because then why not give him a vote of confidence? Why not give him a contract extension? You know, why even let him linger out there even for this 24, 48 hour period? If you really like the guy and you've made your decision based on everything you've seen, like, what's the holdup?
Well, it's just so weird to me, too. Last year, after they lost to the Packers, there seemed to be an ultimatum, like, you better win in the playoffs or you're gone. And now he was 7-10 this year. I know Dak was hurt, but
And Michael Parsons was hurt for most of the year. A lot of guys were hurt.
Yeah, when well, not most of the year, but when he wasn't himself till the second half, then he got really good. Yeah, that being said, you know, 7-10 is 7-10. They're not headed in the right direction.
Yeah, 855-212-4227. So we got the show going with Mike McCarthy because the news is that the Chicago Bears are asking the Cowboys if they can interview Mike McCarthy for their vacant head coaching spot. But because he's technically under contract for another week, I think technically the contract ends tomorrow, but they have him under contract until January 14th. Won't bog you down with the details there. It's really Jerry's decision whether or not he can interview, and he can let Mike McCarthy twist in the wind. Now, this also pushes Jerry a little bit because now you got another team that's sniffing around McCarthy, and we're all wondering, well, what's the holdup? Let's go to Kevin, who is in Texas, who's a big Cowboy fan. You don't want McCarthy or Prescott back, Kevin.
I don't care if McCarthy comes back or not. It's not going to matter because we have Prescott. It doesn't matter who the head coach is. We're not going to do anything as long as Prescott's under center. But the thing about it is, you know, this is just my opinion, but you know, you got the storied franchise of the Cowboys, and my opinion is, you know, within a couple of years, you're going to have a young legacy quarterback coming out of college from a storied NFL family, and you're going to have a marriage of those two. and that's going to include a couple of uncles, at least one uncle in the coaching staff. That's my prediction.
Kevin, you should be producing Sports Talk Radio. How you got Arch Manning into this conversation is brilliant. I wasn't even thinking about Arch. We thought about him for the New York Giants.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Arch.
Kevin.
I mean, Kevin, Arch is already a Giant. They already printed the jersey.
How can we get Dion into this conversation? This is like a Sports Talk Radio bingo. But kudos to you. I mean, yeah, we'll see what happens with Arch.
I don't think
got to play a season of college football first, doesn't
they're
he?
just too darn good to get Arch. That's the problem. By the way, I do find it kind of odd calling the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys Prescott. Never sounds right. Prescott drops back. He's a Dak.
Yeah, I know you have this thought about Russell Wilson, too. You can't just call him Wilson.
Every day. Yeah. Nobody calls Russell Wilson. Like, you could call, nobody said Roethlisberger drops back. Big Ben drops back.
Well, that's
like,
just because Roethlisberger's kind of a mouthful.
Yeah. And Wilson, because there's a million people named Wilson. And
don't want to be confused with
Prescott.
Zach.
Prescott, because
worry.
it doesn't roll off the tongue, but Dak is easy. Nobody said, Newton scrambles to the right. No, it's Cam. Yeah, there's certain quarterbacks.
That's what you took from that call?
You didn't find, nobody else found it odd that he kept saying Prescott?
Prescott is not as big an issue because I feel like Joe Buck calls him Prescott a lot.
Yeah.
Like when I was
Prescott's also like a weird first name, too. Yeah, I don't know. It's unusual to me.
As a play-by-play kind of guy, I last names Prescott drops back, Wilson drops back. It's the last name.
But if you were sitting in a bar, would you actually say, "Hey, do you think the Cowboys should keep Prescott?"
Well,
you'd be like, what? I don't know.
That's different. That's a bar talk.
Fine, sorry.
Well, no, I feel like more on like radio or like people are a hot take kind of show. Yes, I'll never hear someone just say Prescott, but I feel like I do hear announcers call him Prescott. What's funny to me though is that Dak is one of those guys that he is not earned first name basis based on his play. It's purely because his name is so interesting.
Yeah.
I don't like that. Like to me, like Kobe, yes, he had an interesting name, but like also he was awesome. Like I don't like the people who just get first name basis purely because it's just easier to say a first name.
Yeah.
Dakota Rain drops back to pass.
There are also guys that you say both names. Like Matt Ryan is neither Matt nor Ryan. He's Matt Ryan.
Yeah, it's usually one syllable.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. He's not really Rodgers or Aaron. Like, there's certain guys that you have to say both names.
Yeah, that's true. Even Woody Johnson called him Aaron Rodgers in an interview recently.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't you guys know each other, like, in a more familiar kind of way? I'm trying to think now. You got me.
Jalen Hurts is a double name, too. He's not Jalen or
Definitely.
Hurts.
I think
Also because there's a million Jalen's too, as we now know.
it is the most popular name. It's like,
But
move over Michael and Steven. Everyone's Jalen.
Thank you, Jalen Rose.
Of course. And he'll tell you that he is to thank. Has there been somebody who's got a single name who hasn't earned nickname status?
Ooh,
That's
because
an
like
interesting one.
Because their last name is too complicated, like Roethlisberger or something
No,
like
to
that.
EJ's point, like he doesn't think that Dak is accomplished enough in his career to be
First name
Madonna.
basis.
Dak's been
Right.
Dak since his rookie year. Like
Exactly.
he's yeah, I hear what you're saying.
I think there are other guys that I got to think about it, but there are definitely athletes who they're just first name basis, even though they definitely don't. Like, I mean, I think
Franz Wagner.
Franz. Well, no, I think Eli before he won the titles, I think we only knew him as Eli, and it was like he definitely didn't earn it before that championship.
Well, right, but you couldn't call him Manning for obvious reasons.
I mean, I guess, but we didn't run around just saying just Peyton. Like people would definitely say Manning.
Yeah, but you could. For Eli, it was too late to the party. He couldn't be. He couldn't be Manning. Manning was already taken by Peyton and former cornerback Ricky Manning.
Yes, that's what everyone says.
It's like, wait, Manning drops back. You mean Ricky Manning, the Carolina Panthers nickel cornerback?
Cap just
Or was
brought
he
up a
a
good
safety?
one. Tua.
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 Okay.
Yeah. For obvious reasons, because there's too many syllables in his last name. Yep.
Yeah.
DJU.
How about Giannis before Giannis was Giannis, but he's earned it now. People just called him Greek Freak. I don't even know if people called him Giannis.
Yeah, no, he was another one, definitely.
But I think that was because the last name is a little challenging.
Yeah,
But we're good on it now.
I mean,
right?
Bo Nix, honestly, people call him Bo a lot.
Oh no, he's got to be, because his name is so short. It's got to be Bo Nix. He has the shortest. I think he's got the shortest name of any NFL player.
That's cool.
Him and Ty Law.
Ty Law was the other one. They did a whole thing on Amazon about it.
Yeah, that was like one of the stories of the year, how short Bo Nix's name was.
Yeah. It definitely not the teams that passed on him.
We're hitting the important stories today.
Yeah, of course.
J.R. Smith.
It's funny.
JR.
I thought that Kevin actually made a really good point there, which is he's saying it doesn't matter if McCarthy's the head coach because Dak's never winning a title.
Yeah, that struck me as odd. I don't think that I'm surprised that's the temperature in Dallas. I feel like I think most people would say, well, you're never winning a title because of Jerry Jones, not because of Dak Prescott.
Andrew Bogusch is here with headlines. That's a full name, Andrew Bogusch, although we do call you Bogues.
Yeah, and I write myself as AB.
Nobody calls me Andrew. Nobody calls me Andrew. No one has ever called me Andrew.
No.
I was Pearl my whole life. Then I was McLovin on the Dan Patrick Show, and I'm some sort of combo of different things here. And nobody calls you Andrew either.
No. Last name. I mean, that's a guy thing too, I feel like.
Yeah, except nobody calls EJ Stewart.
Well, because EJ, I think, requires the attention.
There you go. It's like I did that on purpose or something.
Headlines are sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Your small business keeps you on the go. Progressive Commercial Insurance keeps your policy within reach with our easy-to-use mobile app. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. From Carson Wentz to Easton Stick to Trey Lance to Cam Miller.
2:05 to go in the first quarter. Bison by 7. 3rd and 3. Own 36. Snap to Cam. Quarterback draw. And there he goes up the middle of the 50. 45-40. 35-30. No one will catch him. He's inside the 10. Touchdown, Bison.
Ted Emmerich on Westwood 1. North Dakota State QB Cam Miller running free for 64 yards and 6 points there. The Bison building a 21-3 halftime lead in Frisco, Texas last night before holding off top-seeded and previously unbeaten Montana State to win the FCS title 35-32. NDSU has now won 10 national titles, 4 more than anybody else, all of them in the last 14 years. Miller finishing with 199 yards and 2 scores passing, 121, and that tally on the grounds.
That was the slowest touchdown run I've ever seen in my entire life. I saw the highlight. It took about 19 seconds for him to get to the end zone.
And it took 17 seconds for a defender to be in the screen with him.
I know. That guy was
to turn on the Jets. He had plenty of room.
That was crazy. That was remember when Daniel Jones, the Giants, broke free and there was no one near him and he tripped over. That guy was running at a Daniel Jones speed.
That was the only hurdle was him staying on his feet.
Yeah.
And it looked like he could have ruined that.
He looked shaky. He definitely looked shaky. But
the NFL coaching carousel does not include Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell for now. Jay Glazer reported on Fox on Sunday that multiple teams want to trade for O'Connell.
Yeah, I'm not really interested in kind of, I guess I should say, addressing the rumors or speculation. What I can tell you is I love this team. I love everything about this organization, and this is where I want to be. This is where I want to keep coaching and leading.
O'Connell needs a new contract in Minnesota, which is apparently why teams thought that maybe they could pry him out of town. Defensive coordinators paid the price yesterday in Cincinnati and Indy. Lou Anarumo, Gus Bradley let go the day after disappointing seasons ended. Far from all of that, Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson expected to do virtual interviews with the Bears and Patriots later this week. Since Detroit has the bye, he can do those starting tomorrow and then running through Monday.
I love this charade like the Patriots aren't hiring Mike Vrabel. I mean, everyone's carrying some major water here for the Pats. So it's like, well, it's not a done deal, and they really want to hear about Ben Johnson. It's like, can we just fast forward to the end of this where Vrabel's getting announced? Oh, is that Gelb, our Patriots fan? He knows it's true.
You're telling me if Ben Johnson was interested, they would not at least think about that because they do have Drake May.
They'd be smart to think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people, I don't think he would take that job. I think that would be less interesting to him, but you're going to bring in Mike. I said yesterday, you're going to bring in Mike Vrabel and cut the knees out of the superstar quarterback. Like, Mike Vrabel is going to win a lot of games 19-13. I get it, but it's like, you got this. I love Drake May. I do not want to see a defensive coach there.
I don't know. I'm not that worried about it because what's the worst thing he's going to say? We need to bring in a running game? That's the best idea they would ever have. That helps. Look at how a run game can help even a guy like Justin Herbert. It's not a bad thing. If you have a great quarterback, a good run game helps. My team, the Buffalo Bills, thank goodness they can finally run the ball and people are excited about them. And Josh Allen's going to win the MVP because they can run the ball now and he can be more efficient. He doesn't have the turnovers. It helps. It's not all bad.
But the Pearl's point, though, I feel like there's something to Mike Vrabel that needs to be kind of thought about in that how you don't got to coach that much when you got Derrick Henry in his prime, right? It makes everything a lot easier. You can be a lot more conservative. You don't have to go for it quite as much. You can milk clock. Like, I think the degree of difficulty in terms of how to win when you have a 2,000-yard kind of back is way different than when you have a quarterback and you're trying to find a running back or find some kind of way to kind of compliment him. It's a totally different calculus.
The quarterback's the hardest part to figure out. The running back part, I'm not saying...
No, I mean the win. I mean, we saw... they had freaking Joe Burrow, and they won 9 games this year. He had one of the best years ever for a quarterback. I'm saying in terms of wins and losses and actually getting yourself further, I feel like having someone like Derrick Henry with that defense just takes a lot of coaching decisions out of your hands. So now when you're talking about building a team around a quarterback in terms of we're going to be a pass-first team or we're going to try to find a way to spice up this offense, I agree. I don't think I'd want Vrabel. I'd want someone who's a little more aggressive.
But didn't we, the whole time Vrabel was there was, the problem for Tennessee is Ryan Tannehill?
Who they paid, by the way.
Right, the problem was they had Derrick Henry, but they didn't have a quarterback to make them that much better.
Tannehill was good. He was good. He was good at certain points.
But there was never a time where the league was universally settled on, Tannehill being the right guy for that position. For that team.
Well, I think people said
he was always replaceable.
And remember that awful game he had when they were the number 1 seed? They hosted the Bengals, and he was terrible in that game.
Yeah. That was a Mike Vrabel game. I mean, that was like every Titans game.
Here's the thing: the Patriots' defense wasn't even as good this year, and that was where the Belichick didn't leave the cupboard totally crazy bare. You know.
I think Vrabel should go to a team that's ready to win and just sort of toughen them up, not a complete rebuild like the Patriots, because he's just going to build them in the image of the Titans, and I don't want that. Really.
Yeah, I don't know. I also think that if you fire Gerard Mayo after 1 year, giving him nothing, and you don't bring in Mike Vrabel, then that makes firing Mayo look worse. I can talk my way into, okay, fine, for whatever reason, you couldn't hire Vrabel a year ago. Now he's there. You want to bring him back to the organization, okay. But you go complete outsider after blowing Mayo out of the water after 1 year?
They need complete outsider. I mean, every Belichick assistant that goes anywhere sucks.
Yeah.
To me, and I know Gerard Mayo's whole thing was that I'm going to try to not be Belichick, and somehow he was worse. So to me, I would actually applaud if they decided, hey, you know what? The Patriots way is dead. And now we need to find something brand new. And Ben Johnson, the best play caller in the NFL, wants to be, I don't know why the hell he'd want to coach there, but if he wants to coach the Patriots, I'd say, okay, what happened to Gerard Mayo was ridiculous, but at least, you have a young coach who is looked at as one of the top young guys in the NFL.
It'd be Drake May in cap space is the reason why you take it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so I wouldn't, if I was him, that'd be probably bottom on my list. Patriots.
I agree. I don't think the Patriots
they have no
good.
talent. Their ownership is obviously
meddling
in a weird place right now. It's cold.
Coaches in the NFC North. He knows about cold weather.
Inside. He's played one outdoor game this year.
Only 2 out of 4, though.
Yeah. No, I mean, honestly, I think it's easier to have good offense in some other places. This, I think, for Ben Johnson, it's done quite. I guess Drake May might be interesting to him. I do like that Ben Johnson and the Jets were like, all right, we're not even going to pretend this is going to happen.
So Ben Johnson, Rex Ryan, a little more our speed.
Yeah. No, Ben Johnson, I'm sure he said to the Jets, he's like, thanks, no, I don't need to interview here.
It's like when you go to someone asks you want to ask the prettiest girl out to the dance. She's like, no, I'm good.
I'm gonna ask her friend.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's gonna work.
Bogusch, thanks so much for that. Appreciate it. Coming up, lots more to do on the NFL coaching cycle, and we get into Brock Purdy. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
What the is Aaron Rodgers up to today?
This portion of the show is brought to you by Ethos Life, the easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes, up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Just a few health questions. Get your free quote at checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Oh, so what is Aaron Rodgers up to today? He's been quiet. He was quiet yesterday. I don't think I heard from him.
I think he's on his way probably back to California. Said he's going to clear his head. But this WTF Aaron Rodgers is not actually about Rodgers. It's about Rex Ryan, who's interviewing with the Jets today in Florida. Here's Rex Ryan on, I think, ESPN radio saying how he would hold Rodgers accountable.
When you have a guy that doesn't show up for mandatory minicamp, and by the way, is your quarterback coming off an injury, I think that's an absolutely ridiculous message you sent to the team. And so, you know, obviously, if he comes back, things would be different. If he's back, it ain't going to be the country club, you know, show up whenever the hell you want to show up. That ain't going to happen. So I'll just leave it at that.
There you go, ESPN New York man. Rex is so good at this. The country club. I mean, the thing about the Rodgers, let's just go take this piecemeal. The thing about the Rodgers being away for minicamp was it wasn't excused. Like, they all knew that he was leaving to go to Egypt. They said it wasn't excused because it was a vacation, but they were all cool with it. He said he showed up to every other thing to try to compensate for it. I don't know. That to me was mishandled by the Jets as opposed to Rodgers really being in the wrong.
That was
They
weird.
made that a bigger story than it ever needed to be. Like, protect your player at that point. Protect everybody. Just say, he's not here, it's excused. Move on with your lives. Instead, it became this massive story. But Rex he played this perfectly because the Jets fan base wants Aaron Rodgers gone immediately. Him coming back is so distasteful. So to Rex be like, oh, this isn't a country club, man. He knows how to play Jets fans like a fiddle.
Yeah. I mean, it is also a reminder, like, Rodgers really, really has to get out of here. Like, he's got to go to another team because, like, it's just, he has no chance for success here in New York. Like, he'll hit in his next team. I'm positive about it, unless he really has to go to a bad place. So, like, this is just a reminder. I hope Rodgers saw that and be like, you know, if Rex gets a job, then it's easy. Like, just he's got to say, Woody, I appreciate it. Just please cut me.
No, there's no world where Rex Ryan and Aaron Rodgers exist in the same plane. Here's more from Rex. He said he's convinced he's going to get the Jets job.
And the reason I think I'm going to get it is because I'm the best guy. And it ain't close. The thing that you have to do, you have to connect with a football team. You have to connect with your fan base. And the way they play, that's the most important thing. Not just the X's and O's and all that. Look, this Ben Johnson, I love him. I absolutely love him. But I'm a better candidate for this job than he would be.
I don't think so.
Well, yeah, Ben Johnson's not going there. But I understand, like, that's a smart line by Rex, too. Yeah, I mean, if Rex goes there, they're like, what, like 2-15, right? Like, this is not going to be, like, is this arch talk?
I mean, Peyton Manning already said no thanks to the Jets long ago. I don't know if
like what is Rex
if the
like?
Manning family is not sending Arch to the Jets. Sorry, EJ.
Well, maybe I'm like, what's the upside of Rex because he has no quarterback? I guess he won with Sanchez.
That's the thing is that he won without a quarterback. So that's the upside. It's like, well, we know one guy can win with a subpar quarterback. Maybe he could do it again.
Does he have the offensive line that ground and pound had?
Absolutely not.
Like literally, like who's his quarterback?
We have no idea.
Yeah, we literally
like
have
what's
no
even
idea.
an option? They're not in position to draft one.
I really think Tyrod Taylor might be the starter next year. I don't.
Well, if Rex is there, he probably will be.
Yeah, and he's already played for Rex. Like I really think that there's a scenario where Tyrod Taylor. There were fans who were calling for Tyrod Taylor this year.
So who's his backup? Because Tyrod Taylor's not making it through a full season. He's 36 years old.
It's gonna be some like journeyman guy. I am anticipating something very, very non-sexy for the quarterback position for the Jets.
Can I interest you in Drew Lock?
I mean, the irony that they need Sam Darnold now more than ever is just...
Or Geno.
And
ironically, you know, there's probably going to be three. They're interviewing 2 Vikings assistants, and I think maybe Wes Phillips maybe start getting interviews too. Like, there's going to be 3 Viking guys who have been around Sam out there. They're already interviewing Flores. They're already interviewing Josh McCown. So...
By the way, so the same thing with Rex that I would say about Brian Flores. These guys, great defensive coaches. Give Rex his flowers about the defense. You can't take that away from him. He is a really good defensive coach. Wanted nothing to do with the offense when he was there. Didn't develop a quarterback. Brian Flores, I mean, Tua aired him out before the season started. And I think Brian Flores was not good for a young quarterback. He changed offensive coordinators every single year, could not find continuity there. And the same thing, Rex didn't develop Mark Sanchez. They just kept handing the ball off.
Yeah, that's why Mark Sanchez got worse during his time in New York. I do think, though, being around Kevin O'Connell is going to mean a lot for Flores, potentially. Because I think he already talked about how he learned a lot after Tua aired him out. And he watched a guy who was broken go to Minnesota and watch Kevin O'Connell and that offensive staff pump him up, turn him into a reasonably good NFL quarterback. I think Brian Flores learned something from that.
You get a lot of 1 p.m. games. That's convenient for your lifestyle.
Awesome.
Yeah, if they hire one of those guys, then you're going to look at 15 1 p.m. games.
Yeah, America doesn't want any more prime time, no more 4 p.m. Trust me, we all agree with you. Bring the Jets to 1 p.m.
Don't be a freaking weirdo.
Tyrod Taylor starting? Oh, my God.
Coming up, Brock Purdy speaks about his contract or lack thereof. We'll get to it next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
I don't think anybody wants to move past this season faster than the San Francisco 49ers. Just leave this one in the rear view. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. It started immediately after the Super Bowl, devastating loss in overtime to the Chiefs, Pearl, and then it felt like everything was kind of working against the 49ers, whether it was contract stuff, self-inflicted, whether it was off-the-field stuff that got very tragic, and Ricky Pearsall, and just and then injuries, of course. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong for the 49ers. They have to flush this season, and the best way to do that is to get this contract done with Brock Purdy as soon as humanly possible.
Why? What difference does it make if they do this now or later? I don't understand.
So glad you asked. I think we just came off of an offseason where it feels like it's the way the 49ers do business now, which is to drag these contract negotiations out. And I get it. It takes two to tango, so it's part on the player as well. But it feels like this is now almost like a strategy. It was Kittle. It was Fred Warner. It was Bosa. It was Ayuk. It's Trent Williams. It's guys who are core, important pieces to this team that they are dragging these contract negotiations out way longer than they need to. Purdy's the guy. Or maybe we'll disagree about whether Purdy's the guy. I think Purdy's the guy. If you are going to pay him and you want him to be the future, get this done. Don't let it linger until the draft, and then we're talking about what are the 49ers doing in the draft. Don't let it linger where we're talking about teams are inquiring about trading for Brock Purdy. Don't make all the mistakes that you made this offseason and off seasons past that I think, quite frankly, I don't know if it led to all the bad things that happened to the 49ers this season, but it certainly didn't help.
Well, I mean, honestly, you know what I think the number one problem was?
What's that?
I think their special teams unit destroyed this team. It just utterly destroyed them, and then the injuries caught up. But that being said, I am not going to do a quick negotiation because Purdy's going to ask for the top of market, and you can't do that. There's no reason for you to do that. I mean, you're a team that has switched quarterbacks all over the place and had no plan whatsoever and kept on winning. They gave up on Jimmy G, brought him back, gave up on Jimmy G, brought in Trey Lance, found Purdy. Shanahan will change his mind every 2 years on quarterback. You're not making a massive commitment to Brock Purdy. That would be nuts.
Okay, but here's the thing. It's actually funny. The one sort of outlier to all of the contract negotiations that got drawn out, in my opinion, unnecessarily by the 49ers, I guess there's two. Christian McCaffrey, who we didn't even know wanted any more money, and then they just gave it to him.
But that money was, in the big picture, totally insignificant. That's $5 million.
Okay,
Who cares?
It was Jimmy Garoppolo, who they actually paid with no problem. They paid Jimmy at the time, it was $137 million over 5 years. So we're not talking about $50 million here. We're talking more about 30 or whatever it is. I can't do the math quickly, but it's they rushed and handed Jimmy money.
Yeah, when he was 5-0.
But that didn't burn them. You know, and in fact, they ended up needing him even when they thought they were done with him. So to me, again, no reason to mess around here with Brock.
It burned them in the sense that they had to use a number 3 overall pick on a quarterback.
That was their. They traded up twice. They thought they had the future with Trey Lance. Gave up that's their fault.
Big chunk of their future. I know it's their fault, but they didn't feel like that Jimmy G was doing the job. And I guarantee he's going to fall out of love with Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy in the last couple meaningful games, he was making some bad mistakes.
Well, he's hurt.
He's hurt how?
Well, wasn't he? He had gotten banged up through the season. Remember his elbow that was all messed up, and they thought at one point it might be another ligament thing, and it looks like, thank goodness, that's not the case.
I don't know. Here's the thing: there's going to be no Debo. Eventually, there's going to be no Kittle. I know Ricky Pearsall had a nice Week 18. I think this is going to be tough moving forward, especially with these running backs getting carted off every 3 plays. How much does McCaffrey have left in the tank? I think the Niners, if they're going to be honest with themselves, they think paying $58 or $60 million for Brock Purdy for 4 years. If you think this is the answer, I think that's a very, very suspicious plan. Like, I don't think that they're going to win at a high level. Like, honestly, they need to get him in a bargain so they can keep building around him.
Here is Brock Purdy. He was talking about this yesterday. He says he's not sure how these contract negotiations will go, but he hopes it's quick.
It's my first time going through all this, so I don't really know like how, what the next step is, but we'll see. Obviously, I like to get it done sooner rather than later, just so I can come back to work and get going with all the guys here, like I said. So we'll see.
Okay, so I get that from his perspective. I don't even know if I would have said that much, though, if I were Purdy. His agents are probably saying, don't say anything, don't say anything. But listen, is he going to get $60 million, the top of what Dak Prescott got? Probably not, because the Cowboys, I'd love to negotiate against the Cowboys. Oh, my gosh. That seems like it's very fun because the players always seem to win those negotiations. But do I think that Brock Purdy is going to be top 5? And I'll tell you what top 5 looks like in terms of average per year. Dak is 1 at 60. Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence are tied at 50. Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, and Jordan Love are all tied at $55 million a year. Then Tua's at 53.1. Jared Goff's at 53. I think that Brock Purdy is going to be more than Jared Goff. I think it's more than 53. I think it's going to be top 5. And I think the 49ers probably deep down know that. And why wouldn't a guy who's played to his level miss me with where he was drafted? Okay? It's not Brock Purdy's fault that he was drafted there, and it's not his burden to say just because I was drafted there means I should be just happy with whatever contract they want to give me. That's not how this works. Guy was in the MVP conversation. People told me that I was a hater, said if he had been drafted top 5, he would definitely have gotten an MVP. It was draft bias that was being held against him. You got to talk about how he's played and what he means to this team, not where he was drafted.
Yeah, but how he played, he's coming off a season with 20 touchdowns, 12 picks, massive. His percentage, completion percentage went from 69.4 to 65.9. A huge step back.
Who played well this year for the 49ers? Who played well?
Well, he definitely
had
took
no Ayuk, who was his number one safety blanket guy and his deep threat guy. He had no McCaffrey.
Right.
He had no Trent Williams, basically. Left tackle's gone. I mean, who do you have?
So, 20 times. I don't even care. If you have Kyle Shanahan as your coach and you have that kind of season, how many quarterbacks could have done what he did in San Francisco this year? 30. I think they're not dumb. They understand that he is not a top 5 quarterback. They understand that. He's obviously a system quarterback.
Is Tua Tagovailoa a top 5 quarterback?
No.
Okay.
And that was a moronic.
Is Trevor Lawrence a top 5 quarterback?
Talent-wise?
Don't, come on.
He's close.
Is Jordan Love a top 5 quarterback?
Talent-wise, close.
Come on.
He's top 10. So is Trevor. Jordan Love is gorgeous to watch play quarterback. He's amazing.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, these are the guys who are who are top 5 getting paid right now.
Okay,
and I'm not sure if all of them are top 5. Lamar Jackson is 8th. Jalen Hurts is 9. It's not just all about ability here with who's getting paid.
Well, let me ask you this.
Patrick Mahomes is tied for 12th.
If you had Trevor Lawrence and Brock Purdy, if you had a choice as a new team, who would you take?
See, I think, again, I'd probably be accused of a draft bias because Brock Purdy has been way more productive than Trevor Lawrence.
He's had one productive year. Trevor Lawrence's productive year was just as productive.
If he didn't get hurt against your Eagles in the NFC Championship game, it's possible that he's gone to the Super Bowl twice.
Well, regardless, Trevor Lawrence
game.
has definitely been as productive as Brock Purdy.
Listen, I'm not sure that's an easy answer.
That is it. Okay, let me ask you, Jordan Love. You have a choice between Jordan Love,
Trevor Lawrence, or Brock Purdy.
If you could start a team with one of those quarterbacks.
Yeah. I don't think it's the slam dunk answer you think it is. I think people are very down on Trevor Lawrence, who's hurt, by the way. But I think Purdy is too.
What about Jordan Love?
Listen, I think this is a big playoffs for Jordan Love.
Jordan Love's awesome.
He is, but what are his numbers?
Let's see. This number is. He was.
He's in and out of the lineup.
He was legit
games.
hurt. He really shouldn't have even played this year. Didn't he sprain? He had the same sprain as me.
He should have played. Get out of here with
Dude,
that.
you have no idea what a grade 2 MCL sprain is. I do. 25 touchdowns, 11 picks, and that was coming off a major knee injury. That's way better than 20 and 12.
A major knee injury puts you out for the year.
We thought he was done for the year. You remember the play? The guy was like carried off the field in Brazil.
Everyone,
you know what the healthcare is like down there?
Except for you, who said he's going to be back right away.
Yeah, but I mean, that did look
You're
bad.
like, come on, it's a grade 2. Everyone plays on that. Now it's he got shot, Come on. We can't have it both ways.
I mean, okay. Yeah, Jordan Love, I don't know. Like, Jordan Love's getting a hard time. He looked terrible on Sunday. I don't know what happened there. I don't think they cared about that game. I do not understand why. But he's had some really good games this year.
I'm not saying it. I'm just saying Brock Purdy has also, and here's the thing. If Jordan Love lost the amount of weapons and the left tackle and all this stuff, I think we'd be making every excuse for him. But for some reason now with Brock Purdy, it's like, well, Brock, you got to take a haircut.
Who are Jordan Love's weapons?
These young receiver core that he's growing with, that everyone was falling all over themselves about last year.
I know, this mythical young receiver core.
Listen, I mean, Reed is good. Romeo Doubs had an all-time great playoff game last year. Definitely raised his stock a lot.
I mean, he's in and out of the lineup.
Yeah, and now Christian Watson has a torn ACL. And it's funny because you brought it up to me yesterday, and now we're talking about the Packers. But Watson doesn't have a lot of volume of receptions, almost none. But he's like their deep threat guy.
Yeah, no, my point is, like, Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence are definitely a cut above. I think Purdy's very close to Tua. Like, he needs to be in the right place at the right time. And I'm a Purdy backer.
And Tua got paid.
Yeah, it was a huge mistake. And even when he got paid, everyone's like, whoa, what are the Dolphins doing? That was universally said because of health reasons.
Okay, so how do you want this to play out here? You want Purdy to just say, you know what? You guys are right. I am Mr. Irrelevant, so I'll take $25 million a year and you can go on and give money to everyone else?
The San Francisco 49ers have to present Baker Mayfield's contract to Brock Purdy and say, take this plus 5% and let's go.
Okay, Baker Mayfield is the 18th highest paid quarterback by average annual value. This dude is not taking the Baker Mayfield contract.
Why? Baker Mayfield's awesome.
Even Baker Mayfield is fine.
He's not fine. He's
$33 million is not getting it done.
Well, give
Purdy.
it 5% more than Baker Mayfield.
He's not getting paid in the Derek Carr. Gardner Minshew's only, Derek Gardner, it's kind of a little bit of a drop off there. Baker, Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr, Stafford, he's not getting paid
guys
in there. Those guys have already made tons of money. Tons of money. He's not doing that. I'm curious what the 49er fans think. 855-212-4227 because Perloff, I think you're seeing this down year for Brock Purdy and saying that was all Brock Purdy's fault. Like, he should have overcome all of this.
Purdy made a lot of mistakes this year. He just did. I mean, I know the personnel was problematic, but you saw a really different quarterback where some of his physical limitations and some of his field vision cost him. Like, there was a pick that he threw in the last meaningful game that the Niners had. I was like, how did he not see that guy? Because what he had to do this year was move around a lot. And quarterbacks, when their legs are moving, their accuracy goes down, down, down. And you just didn't see, he couldn't lift the team on his own. I mean, that's not really, I'm not saying that many quarterbacks could have lifted this team, but if you're paying top of market, then it's got to be a guy who can lift the team. And Trevor Lawrence is that guy. I mean, I know you're down on him, but I would think that most coaches would be like, okay, that is a guy who can be the star quarterback on my team. Like, he can lift all boats. And I just don't think Purdy is that guy.
I guess. I don't want to make this just a referendum on Trevor Lawrence, but what lifting? What are we doing? He's had one playoff appearance, and they had a 27-point lead, and they blew it. I'm sorry. They overcame it, excuse me.
Yeah,
then
but
went
he's
into
in
Kansas
Jacksonville.
City. That's an easier place to win.
No, I mean, the Trent Baalke's made all kinds of mistakes all over the field around him. Basically...
They spent $500 million in free agency to get him guys.
Idiotic moves, like Christian Kirk for $70 million.
Okay.
They made no sense. I don't know they spent the money, but they haven't brought in good players.
Okay, but if you're saying that a great quarterback lifts all boats here and raises the tide, why hasn't Trevor Lawrence turned those guys into Pro Bowlers? And by the way, I think Evan Ingram was a Pro Bowler. But why aren't they better if it's the quarterback and he's so great that he's making everyone look good?
Well, they're just their whole thing. They are so dysfunctional, but they get a good coach. If they got Ben Johnson, Trevor Lawrence would be in the Pro Bowl next year. I'm guaranteeing it. Maybe Trevor Lawrence, by the way, had his peak was really, really good.
I'm looking at the hierarchy of Perloff's loves, and it's like your daughters your wife all together, and then Ben Johnson.
Well, when I say Ben Johnson, I mean any Kevin O'Connell kind of coach, any kind of like
Doug
really
Peterson
smart.
all of a sudden is like a guy who can't call an offense.
Yeah, Peterson, by the way,
He can design a Philly.
Got a lot of help from his coordinators in Philadelphia. I think even the most highest Doug Peterson fan would be like, "Oh, there was a lot going on there." He had.
And what did Frank Reich do when he became a head coach?
I'm not saying Reich was a good coach. I'm not saying DiFilippo worked out anywhere else, but that was a team effort in Philly, much like Nick Sirianni. Honestly, okay, if you guys would pay Brock Purdy over more than Trevor Lawrence, give me Lawrence. I still think Lawrence is good. How many touchdowns has that guy just missed because a receiver stepped on the end line, by the way? The most in the history of the NFL. You guys, does anyone watch the Jags games? You know what I'm talking about? Every single time, like his stupid receivers can't keep their toes in bounds.
855-212-4227. Maybe if the throw was a little better. I'm just kidding. 855-212-4227. Get it going here with Brock Purdy and this contract situation. He says he wants it done quickly. That has not been the way that the 49ers have done business. So we'll see. And does he deserve to be paid at the top of the market? Again, 855-212-4227.
All right, it's playoff time, Maggie, and it's now or never. Don't miss out on the last few weeks of football with Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching the playoffs. 10 million members, billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks makes daily fantasy sports so accessible. It's so easy to use. You pick 2 or more players across any sport. Pick more or less on their projection. You could win up to 1,000 times your money.
Amazing for me last night. North Dakota State, Montana State in the FCS championship. I was all over it on Prize Picks, and I became a huge winner. Did you know that Prize Picks accepts major credit cards for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season? Of course, it's America's #1 daily fantasy sports app, and it's available in more than 40 states. Tonight, I'm looking at Celtics Nuggets. This is a fun one. Now, it's not across 2 sports. It's just across 1 game. Give me Nikola Jokic more than 50.5 rebounds, points, and assists. And then I want Jalen Brown less than 22.5 points per. I went back and looked at all of his game logs against the Denver Nuggets. He's averaging less
Welcome to the MMP 500. Buckle the fuck up. Who's on the rise and who just fucked up? Maggie and Perloff breaking shit down. Who's on top and who's the damn clown? Up and down, we're calling it out. Who's kicking ass and who's got clout? The MMP 500, the realest damn show. Winners and losers, you fucking know. QB's a legend or a coach in the shit. Who's feeling great and who's in the pit? From courts to fields, we're laying the bear. Find out who the fuck's going nowhere. Up and down, we're calling it out. Who's kicking ass and who's got clout? The MVP 500, the realest damn show. Winners and losers, you fucking know. QB's a legend or a coach in the shit. Who's feeling great and who's in the pit? From courts to fields, we're laying it bare. Find out who the fuck's going nowhere. Up and down, we're calling it out. Who's kicking ass and who's got clout? The MVP 500, the realest damn show. Winners and losers, you fucking know.
Hey, Robin, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. My name is Robin from San Francisco, not San Fran. I know you sports people do that.
Did I say San Fran? I think I said San Francisco.
No, you said San Fran. That's what set me off to call you. The name of our city is San Francisco. The second thing I'd like to say, okay, we hate that. We locals hate that. The name of our city is San Francisco. Unless you were watching a different game than what I was watching, I think that 2 runs that Brock Purdy had something to do with them advancing and winning this game.
Robin, I said he used his legs and his scrambling kept the comeback alive. I think you kind of have an axe to grind with me beyond the Brock Purdy.
I have an axe to grind to you. No, I don't have. Don't project to me. I'm telling you what I heard and what I.
Okay, well, the first thing you said to me was, "Don't call our city San Fran," like you were wildly offended, which I don't even know if I said that.
I'm offended. I am offended by it because
that's insane to be offended by that.
You are such a smart aleck. Bye.
I'm not a smart aleck. I just don't want to get I think she kind of had it out for me a little bit before we even got started there. San Fran is offended. Did I even say San Fran?
I don't know if you said, but I'm with Robin.
Jay's back, he's limping in, but he's ready to roll. After that knee took a hit, but it couldn't take his soul. He's been down, he's been out, but now he's back on his feet. Peter Belotti's still missing, but EJ can't be beat. EJ's back in the game, he's pushing through the pain. Peter Belotti's still MIA, but EJ's here to stay. The work don't stop, the show goes on. EJ's fighting hard from dusk till dawn. That knee might have tried to take him down, but EJ's the toughest guy around. He's clocking in, he's doing his time, while Peter's at home, sipping on wine. EJ's back in the game, he's pushing through the pain. Peter Belotti's still MIA, but EJ's here to stay. The work don't stop, the show goes on. EJ's fighting hard from dusk till dawn. That knee might have tried to take him down, but EJ's the toughest guy around. He's clocking in, he's doing his time, while Peter's at home, sipping on wine. EJ's back in the game, he's pushing through the pain. Peter Bellotti.
Pine Needles wakes up at dawn, coffee brewing, screen turned on. He's got a favorite show to see, the Maggie and Perloff Symphony. Oh, Pine Needles are tuned in tight to Infinity Sports Radio every night. Maggie and Perloff, your daily delight. In their words you find your life. From highlights to the breaking news, every take you can't refuse. In the chat he's always there with comments, questions, wisdom to share. Oh, Pine Needles, you're tuned in tight to Infinity Sports Radio every night. Maggie and Perloff, your daily delight. In their words you find your life. When the games
San
get
Francisco,
tough
the
and
topic right now,
stakes are
because
high.
Purdy wants this contract done quickly, Perloff, and that is just not what the 49ers have done recently with their biggest stars.
I got to be honest, I'm somewhat shocked at the poll results. Would you rather start a team with Trevor Lawrence or Brock Purdy? It's 62% Lawrence. I thought this was going to be a 90-10, just based on height. Like, what coach would want the 5'11 guy versus the 6'4 guy? There's no NFL coach in the history of the league who would start with Brock Purdy over Trevor Lawrence.
Well, unless you're taking this poll at a coaching convention, this is fans who sit and watch the games and are living and dying. And I think they're watching Brock Purdy be effective and win games.
Well, I mean, still
Go to the Super Bowl. Trevor Lawrence is far from that.
I'm just saying, I mean, still 62% are on Lawrence. I thought, I don't understand where these Purdyites come from. Because can you imagine if Trevor Lawrence was available to San Francisco?
You don't know where the Purdyites come from. We had a fan and a listener send us Brock Purdy for MVP T-shirts last year.
Yeah, that was last year. It's a long time ago. It's a long time ago. This is in Shanahan terms, like it's time for a new quarterback.
Oh, man. Let's go to Jose, who's in California. Jose, what do you think about Purdy?
Honestly, I love Brock Purdy. As a Niner fan, I'm a little biased. I'll admit that. I think it's unfair that we compare him to Mahomes, arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks to play the game. But look at his stats this year with all the injuries the Chiefs faced. They're not great. You know, Brock Purdy threw for more yards, same amount of interceptions, and only 3 less touchdowns. I don't feel Brock Purdy should get 60 to 65 million. As a Niner fan, I'd like 45 to 50 so that we could pay some people to come back. But, you know, you got to look at it. He was drafted last, and look how he's performed. You know, look what he did against the Lions last week with second and third string offensive line.
Yeah. Over
300 yards, I think 4 touchdowns. The kid's good, man, and every quarterback needs a good supporting cast. It's just the way it is.
You know, Jose, it's a great point. I don't know if 49er fans or the 49ers specifically are going to be able to have their cake and eat it too. Would everyone like to pay $40 million for Brock Purdy or 45? I don't think that's the world we're living in right now with quarterbacks.
I think Brock Purdy will do a team-friendly deal because, you know, he's a late-round pick like Tom Brady. He's got team guy. He wants those weapons around. I think he would lean towards a team-friendly deal. In fact, I'm almost positive he will.
Well, what I think he would do is there's two ways you can be team-friendly, I guess. You could also sign a shorter deal for a lot more money. So he could do like $55 million, but it's only 2 or 3 years guaranteed, and then he gets another bite at the apple while he's still in his 20s.
Yeah, but you want this 2 or 3 year window is important for the Niners because you have all these older players. So I'm not sure that works out. Yeah, I just think that he doesn't want to take up all the cap space. I don't think he does, and I think he'd be smart not to.
Well, okay, but I look at your team, the Philadelphia Eagles, and you're paying Jalen Hurts at the top of the market. You're paying A.J. Brown at the top of the market. Devontae Smith's getting paid. You've got your offensive lines all getting paid. You have find a way to pay Jalen Hurts and have all these other guys.
Jalen Hurts, yeah, I know, but now Jalen Hurts' contract is not that punishing. What is he, like?
9th in terms of average
what is he,
annual
like,
value.
45?
51. I'm telling you, you're not getting Purdy for 45.
There's a lot of players to pay in San Francisco. I mean,
there's a lot of players to pay in Philadelphia, and they find a way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, the Niners are different though. Like their MVP is clearly on the defensive side of the ball. Like their one singular player is Nick Bosa,
and he's already paid.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you need. It's not all about the quarterback there. Yeah, and also Saquon doesn't cost much at all. What is Saquon? $10 million. So that's nothing.
Let's go to Rich, who's in California. Rich, you've got a thought for the 49ers. If not Purdy, then who?
Yeah, exactly. Who out there is better than him right now that you could readily get?
Sam Darnold, Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins?
Oh, Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, that worked really well for the Jets, didn't it?
Well, what do you think? How do you think Brock Purdy would have done with the Jets?
I don't think Brock Purdy would have done very well with the Jets at all because Brock Purdy, as you said, is a system quarterback. But then again, all quarterbacks are system quarterbacks. You don't give them the tools, they don't score the points.
Yeah,
they get a bucket of credit and a bucket of blame. The problems the 49ers have very little to do with Brock Purdy and what you're going to pay for him. Number one, they ran into the collective bargaining agreement, which pretty much is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Spread the talent around. They're going to have to lose some people. Yeah, I guess so. But that's the price that you pay. Yeah,
but Rich, I don't think losing one of those people, I'm in lockstep with you. I don't think it's quarterback. And thank you for the call. I don't think you mess around. You know, they tried to get cute with Trey Lance. How did that work out? Most regimes don't survive that, by the way. And the 49ers have found a way to thrive because basically Brock Purdy saved their butts. And, you know, I just think that, you know, you can mess around with maybe Debo. You can mess around and drag this thing out with Ayuk. I would not do it with Purdy. You want to bring in Aaron Rodgers? Good luck to you. You want to bring in Kirk Cousins, 36, coming off the Achilles? Have fun with that. Sam Darnold, I don't think is leaving Minnesota. So that might not even be an option.
Yeah, how about Jimmy G? Bring him back. The one thing about you got to remember, Kyle Shanahan turned Matt Schaub into a superstar. I think Kyle Shanahan's quarterbacks always have great numbers.
Didn't Matt Schaub set a record for pick sixes at one point?
He had 4,800 yards in a season.
Okay, but that's one season.
Yeah, no, but
they weren't even close to the Super Bowl in that season either.
He could create very, very productive quarterbacks. Like the guys under Shanahan, a lot of guys can have really good seasons. So he can work with anybody, I think,
except for Trey Lance. That can't work.
It's funny. Trey Lance actually won some games at San Francisco. He was absolutely the wrong kind of guy.
I think he won 2 games.
Yeah, no, he was
games.
He was but the funny thing is he wasn't he didn't go 0 for 4. He was 2-2. I think they actually probably could have been 11-6 with Trey Lance. And I'm not even joking. They probably could have won a bunch of games because for 4 years it was the defense. It was they were amazing. And then that fell apart. That I think is another big problem. We keep talking about Brock Purdy. What is happening to that defense?
Big Friendly has an answer for you. Good morning, Big Friendly.
Good morning, Maggie Malone, EJ the EP, Manny the Man, Bogusch, and the one, the only Daddy Cool. Good morning, and thank you.
I thought
for taking
Bogusch
my
was
call.
411, Big Friendly.
He is, but see, I'm going to answer the question this morning, Bogusch. The reason why I'm mad at you, I asked you about the Rams draft. You're the man with the time, the info, and the knowledge, and you disrespected my family by disrespecting the Rams.
I did?
Yeah, when I asked you, what did you think about the Rams draft this year, your exact comment was, did they have one? Jared Verse, Brandon Fisk, Kitchen, Joshua Cardi. Come on, man, our rookie draft class.
You asked
But
me that. I remember you
digress.
asked me this, but was this the morning after round one?
No, I asked you. It was the week after the draft when they were talking about like they were going around doing the draft opinions on ESPN and everywhere, giving the draft grades. And so I had asked you your opinion, but I understand. 411. We're all good, baby. It's a new year, no animosity.
Big Friendly. I didn't realize you were keeping receipts like that.
Seriously.
The draft was in April.
I'm
sorry.
Magsy, hey, I'm like an elephant. I remember everything.
Those types of people scare me.
And I'm
people
built like
who
an
remember
elephant. You've
everything.
seen the picture.
Big Friendly,
That's
we didn't
funny.
talk about Jared Verse because I saw Jared Verse play in college before he was Jared Verse. We didn't talk. I wasn't.
I think you were probably just poking at me, which I understand now. But at that point, I was needing something serious because I was a little depressed. I was feeling some kind of way. You know what I mean?
By the way, Big Friendly, I didn't exactly hear you say Cam Kinchens is going to be a superstar. Like, you didn't see this draft. Did you know? Did you know that this draft was going to be this good? And even McVay's like, whoa, these guys are good.
Daddy Cool. From last year's draft to this year's draft, I watched what the Rams did without high draft picks.
Yeah.
Now, we don't have no names. This year we got Jared Verse. Last year was Brandon Young. Once Aaron Donald stepped away, and Daddy Cool, I need to take you to a dark room and understand how you knew he was going to retire 3 months before he announced it. That's still some info I need to know.
I did? Wait, by the way, it's Byron Young. But that being said...
Byron Young, yeah, I'm sorry.
Kid, the funny report about the Rams, I'm obsessed with this report, that they desperately tried to trade up to get Brock Bowers with 13.
Yeah.
Yep.
Les Snead's on fire right now because Brock Bowers is great. Like, he is making the best picks, and they did great with Verse. So I think, Big Friendly, you're hitting on something. Bogusch has no idea how to evaluate a draft
How
class.
about Bogusch also saying he saw Jared Verse before he was Jared Verse, like you saw Nirvana in a coffee shop in 1991.
I saw him play for Albany.
Yeah, I know. It's just funny. It's like I was there before he even got cool.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Jared Verse or Albany, like Khalil Mack? Like, is that, or was it?
Yeah.
Khalil Mack was in Buffalo.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but at least that's a Division I school. Jared Verse is playing in the CAA.
I actually didn't even know that. That is really cool. Yeah, Big Friendly. Bogusch does have receipts there, too. What do you say to that?
No, I'm at the customer service and I'm taking back everything. I'm not offended. You know, I mean, but okay. So so Magsy, you being a Buffalo fan, sweetheart, I didn't know you were such a Niner nurturer. You're making so many excuses for this team. Let's start with Deebo Samuels. Can we talk about how he's never been the same since Nick Scott introduced himself in the NFC Championship? Deebo's never been the same.
Maybe. I mean, listen, they've been trying to trade Deebo, though.
I'm just breaking down this Niner team. So all these Robins, and it's Frisco, baby. Robin, if you're listening, it's Frisco, not San Fran. You gave Ayuk money, he went down. You gave Trent Williams money, he was hurt all year. You gave McCaffrey money, then you ran him into the ground. They're going to pay Purdy. There's no reason we should have this conversation. The Niners are doing, and let's go to coaching. This is why I blame Kyle Shanahan. I can't keep a lead hand. Wasn't he the coach when he gave away the house for Trey No Chance Lance to play quarterback?
Yes, that's why I said I'm surprised.
So when you talk about receipts, Maggie, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just being a football fan here. Let's strip away all the Ram stuff. You haven't wore yet.
Yeah, I know.
And let's talk football. This coach is the reason why this Niner team will never win. You have, talking about they have no weapons, you have one of the best tight ends. You have a guy who got shot and came back and was a stud. You got a defense that shows up even when they're depleted. I don't know if these Niner fans are watching football or watching Locked On Niners because they have a team. You have no coach.
Shout out Odyssey. Lockdown Niners.
my
Love
opinion.
it. But, Big
Thank
Friendly,
you.
it's a great opinion. Thank you. That very fun call, funny call. He had a couple great lines there. He said elephant in the room, even though what'd he say?
He said he's built like one.
He's built like one. He workshopped the no chance Lance line with
That
me,
was good.
and I told Manny that's a good line.
It's a
By
great
the way,
line.
I was upset with you yesterday. I thought Lance looked pretty good on Sunday. He was not bad at all. He definitely looked good in the first half. Like, guy can complete a pass. I don't know why the Cowboys didn't play him all season.
Well,
Made
yeah.
no sense to me at all.
Listen, if you want to say I'm being a 49er apologist because I'm blaming some of the injuries, yeah, Ayuk was gone for the whole year. We talked about how important Ayuk was to this team. We argued about it. Turns out pretty damn important. And
I don't know about that.
I can't. I cannot.
I mean,
You can't.
McCaffrey.
There's no win.
McCaffrey was way more important.
And I was going to get to
Yeah.
McCaffrey. And Ricky Pearsall, I mean, Big Friendly said it. The dude is an all-time miracle story, but who expected anything from him this year? He almost bled out on a sidewalk. Thank God that wasn't the how this thing ended.
At the same time, though, I think to Big Friendly's point a little bit, there was, and there still continues this conversation we're literally just having about that Kyle Shanahan could kind of win with anybody. Like, oh, Brock Purdy, how dare you ask for $55 million? I can just go get anybody. So I think that's the frustration from Niners haters
Right.
is that you guys keep saying how great Kyle Shanahan is. All right, well, if he's so great and he can win with anybody, why couldn't he win with these guys?
Bogusch has headlines for us. What's up, Bogusch?
By the way, Matt Schaub was awesome under Kyle Shanahan. He led the league in passing, then Shanahan left. Like, he was a superstar.
Superstar is so much.
But you should look at his numbers under Shanahan.
No,
They
his
were
numbers are
incredible.
good. He was not a superstar.
That's the thing. Like,
He was the
I'm
Michael
just saying,
Jordan of Sam
anybody.
Darnold.
Schaub is just as good as Brock Purdy was. Like, Schaub would have done the same thing that Brock Purdy would have done. Schaub was a good quarterback.
Schaub was terrible
Remember
in
all the
playoff
pick
games.
sixes he
Yes.
had? It was like
Playoff games,
7.
yeah.
It was like
That's because
7
he didn't
games
have-
in a row.
That's because he didn't have Shanahan.
You also said Kirk Cousins, who had a stretch where he threw no touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Purdy's never done that. And if you want to assume that Kirk Cousins is going to come back from his Achilles next year,
Come on, Kirk Cousins is high-level quarterback.
He got
still?
benched.
Generally, though, he's a high-level. Yeah, but he's coming
Yeah,
off an
you're
Achilles.
not getting
But I'm just saying-
vintage Kirk Cousins, though.
Yeah, no, I don't know what Cousins is like, but I mean, Cousins with Shanahan, if Cousins was healthy, like, that could be a thing.
Listen, Shanahan could have had Cousins, and they passed on him for Garoppolo. So
Yeah, I know, but now, like, I'm just saying, like, he won with Garoppolo. He definitely could have done some things with Kirk Cousins.
Wait,
I think
I'm sorry.
Yeah, he did things with Kirk Cousins. They were great together.
can we post? I don't want to shortchange you. We only got a couple minutes here.
There's
we got
nothing more important than a
need-
Kirk Cousins, Kyle Shanahan debate.
I'm good. I got time here.
Okay.
All right. While the coaching carousel spins, there are playoff games soon. Eagles QB Jalen Hurts remains in concussion protocols. The Packers confirming a torn ACL for receiver Christian Watson. The Ravens say wideout Zay Flowers is day-to-day with Saturday's knee injury. And Amari Cooper has yet to rejoin the Bills after being excused for their last game for personal reasons. Sean McDermott didn't know yesterday if he would be available for Sunday's game with the Broncos. As for that coaching carousel, it's not just Mike McCarthy and Ben Johnson on the Bears' mind. They have asked to interview 4 other offensive minds, including Steelers OC Arthur Smith, Dolphins coordinator Anthony Weaver, the lone defensive name attached to them yesterday. I'm going to say this slowly. Kyrie Irving is dealing with a bulging disc in his back.
Nicely done.
So he's out 1 Nicely to 2 weeks at least. The Mavs already down Luka, so they can't win right now.
Lead out ahead for Wells. Wells pump fakes. Marshall flies by. Wells lays it up and in. Marshall trying to recover, commits the foul, the hoop, and the harm for the rookie Jalen Wells. The lead out pass by Scottie Pippen Jr. gives him the assist, and the Grizzlies back up 9, looking to make it 10.
That's Eric Hasseltine on Grizzlies Radio. Memphis, a 119-104 victory, extending the Dallas skid to 5. The Kings' win streak is 5, outlasting the Heat 123-118 in double overtime. The Pacers 113-99 winners in Brooklyn, and the Bucks rolled through Toronto 128-104. Giannis 11 points, 12 rebounds, and 13 assists. The Oakland A's spending more money this offseason, reportedly extending outfielder Brent Rooker 5 years, $60 million. Rooker, an all-star 2 years ago, he got MVP votes for this past season. And you guys were just discussing Trey Lance. His brother Bryce Lance is now a North Dakota State wide receiver. Had a huge game for them last night in their 35-32 win over top-seeded Montana State to win the FCS title. That is 10
natties now for the Bison, all in the last 14 years. Guys, back to you.
But new head coach this year, right?
New head coach who was an assistant, I think, at the beginning of this dynasty. Yes. So new head coach for this year.
Man,
but an old face.
How about Trey Lance's brother is going to probably end up being a star? That'd be
He looked damn good last night.
Thank you, Bogusch. Okay, coming up, a surprise, in my opinion, firing in the NFL could be Alabama's gain. How does this impact the Crimson Tide? We'll tell you next. It's M&P.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. So we're learning a lot about, is this 70s or 60s? 70s rock here on the Maggie and Perloff Show. Manny and EJ are not exactly aficionados, did not know much about Leonard Skinner, like their existence. Although Manny knew, how did we get to Freebird? Because it's somebody's song?
Yeah, it was the goal song for Team USA in the World Juniors.
Yeah. So, Leonard Skinner.
Had no idea it was by Leonard Skinner until 5 minutes before you asked me yesterday.
Yeah, I have to be honest. I get them confused with a lot of bands. We watched the movie Almost Famous the other day at home.
Yeah.
My kids are really into classic rock because of the Bob Dylan movie. My daughter loved Timothy Chalamet playing Bob Dylan. So she's like, I want to see Almost Famous, which is about... It's about
a fictional band.
It's a fictional band where Cameron Crowe, a version of Cameron Crowe, who toured with Led Zeppelin, the Eagles, and Leonard Skinner was one of the inspirations for the movie Almost Famous because they almost died in a plane wreck, or they did have a plane wreck where I think people were hurt. Anyway, so they were on my mind a lot, and it's funny you brought them up, having no idea. Now, what's a song that I'm supposed to know? It's called Simple Man by...
Leonard Skinner.
Is it a big deal?
Yeah, Manny will find it for you.
Yeah, I just... I know Sweet Home Alabama and Freebird. I did not know this other song.
You've heard it 1 million times, I promise you. In the meantime, we do have more coaching carousel updates, which was Seattle firing their offensive coordinator, Ryan Grubb. Now, obviously for the Seahawks, this is a big deal in and of itself because the future of Geno Smith may be in doubt. I saw Tyler Lockett maybe talking about how this could have been his last game with the Seahawks. Obviously, you have JSN, you've got DK Metcalf, you've got a good run game. But the future of the offense in Seattle is now up in the air. They finished 14th in total offense this season, 18th in points per game, 28th in rushing. So they want to make an upgrade. Now, where this plays into both NFL and college, Perloff, is that Ryan Grubb was their offensive coordinator, who was the OC at Washington with Kalen DeBoer. They've actually coached with each other at 4 different stops, 4 different places. The head coach and the OC have been together. So it seems pretty natural to connect some dots here that Ryan Grubb, fired by the Seattle Seahawks, will now just simply pack his bags and go to that sweet home Alabama, to go to Alabama and coach with Kalen DeBoer.
Well, there you go. Great.
All right. Well, I guess I set it up there for you.
Was it? Yeah. So, but I'm curious. So, who calls plays for them? Is it? I thought DeBoer was also kind of a play caller type.
I think that these guys. Listen, here's the biggest thing for Alabama. You want to take the Alabama side of it?
Yeah.
Obviously, Jalen Milroe has declared for the NFL draft. What are you going to be doing at quarterback? And how is this going to be a team where it looks like Kalen DeBoer puts his stamp on the team? I think that's going to be really important because you're coming out of the Nick Saban shadow, if you ever can. And I think it's going to be a big deal for Kalen DeBoer. Step one, who's your quarterback? Who do you want to get in there? Mm-hmm. And how are you going to try to recreate? I don't know if Michael Penix is going to be possible to recreate that, but something close to that, I believe, is what Alabama fans are expecting.
Yeah, so there's a guy there, right, who I think his name, Austin Mack, I'm looking at, who was a backup in Washington, who I guess killed it in practice and spring games. So he might be the guy because it seems to me that I'm not a DeBoer expert. You really need to run his system. Like, he is kind of a system coach. So get a guy in like a Milroe did not fit. So a lot of people want this Austin Mack kid to be the guy, and they still have Ty Simpson, so he'll probably be the starter. And the thing about it is there's really no one left in the portal for them to get. So they're looking at some sort of combination. I don't think you're getting a Penix. Like, I don't think there's a star quarterback waiting there.
Well, Penix wasn't Penix. I mean, at
Penix
Indiana, he was a good quarterback who was injured, who I don't think people saw the national championship game coming at all. In fact, I know they did.
I thought he was hurt, but Penix was Penix before Washington. Like, he was fantastic that 1 year before he got hurt in Indiana. And you knew he had the talent. He had 2 reconstructed knees. That's why people gave up on Penix. I think that I kind of worry that DeBoer does not have the guy, and Alabama doesn't have this underlying story. They don't have really the money to compete with some of these other schools, which is crazy to say, but it doesn't feel like they're a Texas or even maybe even an SMU or a Florida or a Miami. Like, I don't know. I think we could be looking at the end of the dominant era.
Well, you might have been looking at the end of the dominant era just because, right? And not because Alabama is cash poor, which I do not believe, but just because you're moving on from Saban and, it's just a different world in college football now. It's just, you can't build the kind of depth. Look at Georgia. You can't build the kind of depth that you once did because your second and third string guys can go get paid somewhere else and they'll play somewhere else.
Right. But also I do think, I think you're dismissing that too quickly. I think there are schools that have bigger payrolls than Alabama. And that's a huge deal. It's like kind of the whole ballgame right now. Like Ohio State bought a $20 million team this year. That number is going to go up, but they're probably going to win the national title. They're heavy favorites right now.
Okay, but the one thing about, I think there's also part of this with Ohio State where, you can look at Caleb Downs and you can look at Quinshon Judkins and you can say, look at these like free agent portal guys that they brought in, Will Howard, but they also pay their own guys. And that's the thing about Alabama. I still think that that college football, for all the money, I think a lot of your money is earmarked for your own guys that you recruit out of high school, that you develop, and that's like 90% of your roster, and then you sort of fill in with the portal guys. And I think that Alabama still carries the gravitas of being able to walk into a high school and saying you can play for Alabama. I don't think that's all gone just because Nick Saban is out the door. Alabama, we talked about it, we argued about it. Blue blood college football program that did not become invented the moment that Nick Saban walked in the door. It existed long before that and will exist long after him.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, if that 5-star recruit is sitting there and Alabama walks in the door, if another school walks in with a bigger check, why wouldn't you just go with the bigger check?
Well, you might, but I'm not saying that Alabama all of a sudden can't pay anybody. They're going to recruit guys out of high school, and I think they're going to keep a lot of their guys. Like, just like Ohio State. Where's a lot of that $20 million is going towards their own roster?
Well,
that they developed, that they drafted out of got out of high school, not drafted. Yeah, that they recruited out of high school but
they outpaid
stick around.
They probably outpaid everybody for Jeremiah Smith. I think Alabama can't, like, they need the best roster. To be Alabama, you need the best roster in the country, and you're not going to be able to compete. Like, you're going to be just as good as some teams, but you're not going to be superior like you used to be. And again, like, I don't know. I think if you're Jeremiah Smith, I'd be surprised if Alabama is going to win a lot of those battles.
Well, I guess I would counter with this. We're talking about Ryan Grubb, the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks, was fired. He's coached with Kalen DeBoer, the head coach of Alabama, at 4 different schools. So it seems pretty obvious that they would team up again. Kalen DeBoer didn't have the best roster when he was at Washington. No one says the Huskies have the highest, payroll, cash, whatever you want to say, and they got all the way to the national title game. So I think part of the reason why Kalen DeBoer was attractive is because they thought he could do more with less, air quotes. And I don't think Alabama is that much less. I don't think it's like a totally different ball game.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I just don't think you could divorce the fact that you just saw Georgia stink it up on a big stage and Alabama like, oh man, like whatever happened the last 10 years is now somewhat irrelevant to modern college football. So you almost like take it off the board. This is totally different. It's a whole new ball game, not to use a cliche, but now Alabama and Georgia just cannot stack 5-star recruits. And
but isn't that why you want Kalen DeBoer?
Yeah, but I feel like Kalen DeBoer will have he'll be like a once every 4 years he'll be elite.
Well, that might be Alabama's future now. That might be everyone's future. That's not a knock.
Well, it's just very different than Saban, where every year they were, what was his lowest preseason ranking until the final year was like 3. I just don't think Alabama's going to be able to do that. I mean, they're not going to be. I don't have preseason rankings, like look ahead rankings for next year, but I can't imagine they're a top 3 team. They have no quarterback right now, and they have one offensive weapon, Ryan Williams, and that's about it.
and they will keep him. I mean, that you're going to find the money for him, that's for sure. 855-212-4227. I thought Kalen DeBoer has been okay recruiting in the South, which was a question that people had, like, oh, he's not going to be able to walk into the high schools. Like, people respect him.
That's all about one thing. It's all about money now, and it's going to just keep growing that way.
855-212-4227. So much to get to, including a playoff game hangs in the balance based on one singular thing. What is that thing? We'll tell you about it next. M&P.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Well, the NFL coaching carousel continues to spin. We got playoff games to get ready for. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Not just college football, which gets going on Thursday with Notre Dame and Penn State. Then Friday, obviously, you've got Texas and you've got, why am I blanking? Ohio State, of course. Team that is the juggernaut right now. How dare I have my mind go blank on them? You got an NFL as well, Perloff, and I'm not trying to be like overstate something here, but the biggest storyline going into these playoffs is the health status of Jalen Hurts. Because your Philadelphia Eagles are the second seed rather, in the NFC. Green Bay Packers are coming to town on a 2-game losing streak. Philadelphia, to me, is the one team that could actually challenge the Detroit Lions. I think they could go to Detroit and win. I don't know if any other team can do that, but I think the Philadelphia Eagles can. This entire thing, though, hangs on Jalen Hurts' health, and the fact that he got a concussion 2 weeks ago, and we found out yesterday he is still in concussion protocol, was alarming.
Shocking, because remember the concussion. He gave a thumbs up like, I'm ready to go back in. He didn't want to go to the tent. He was walking around. So I think most people assumed, I think you and I talked about this, that they were only sitting him to be careful at the end of the season. Like he could have played. I assumed he could have played week 18 if they needed him. I guess not, because he hasn't cleared it yet. I think he will play. I have no doubt that he will play. I'm just worried that he's one hit away from getting another concussion, because remember when Tua got hurt, you're in a much more dangerous position more recently after concussion. So I'm afraid Jalen Hurts is going to run in the playoffs. That's like his superpower. He's going to take one hit and be out for the entire playoffs, and then poof, Eagles' playoff chances are done.
I mean, I got to agree with you on this. Generally, we disagree on stuff, but I got to agree with you. Without Jalen Hurts, you cannot win the Super Bowl. Kenny Pickett, who's banged up, Tanner McKee. I mean, I
love me some Tanner McKee, but go ahead.
I'm sure you do. I know you love backup QBs. But I understand that the Philadelphia Eagles won a Super Bowl with a backup quarterback, like recently. 2017, Nick Foles beats Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, all-time amazing moment. I don't think you got the luxury here of that. Now, maybe this team is just as good. I don't think so. Those two backup quarterbacks don't have nearly the experience that Nick Foles had. Nick Foles had multiple seasons as a starter. This is not so with Kenny Pickett or with Tanner McKee. You'd basically be throwing as closer to a rookie in there than you would be a seasoned veteran like Nick Foles at the time.
Yeah, Nick Foles had a Pro Bowl under his belt. Kenny Pickett stinks. I mean, he went out against Washington and threw a pick that cost him the game in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
He did have some nicer moments. Tanner McKee actually looked really good, but it didn't mean anything. It was against the Giants in Week 18. No, I don't think there's any idea that there's a Nick Foles coming. I've never even. You're the first person I even heard who brought that up. Like nobody's saying that this is a possible run without Jalen Hurts, which is funny because Jalen Hurts is off criticized in Philadelphia.
I'm sure everyone is in Philly. That's your MO.
My text, well, Saquon is now, he's like Dr. J.
Just
he's
wait.
Universally loved. No,
You'll find a reason.
You can't go after a running back. Look, what's Saquon going to do? He's already, when he jumped backwards over that guy, he's good for life.
Wait till he puts one on the ground in the playoffs against the Packers. You guys are going to be running him out of town.
Nope.
Philly fans are the worst.
He's in the Iverson. There are untouchables. Iverson, Dr. J. Saquon is untouchable.
Okay.
I guarantee.
Rocky.
What's that?
Rocky the third.
Yeah. Quarterbacks are always in trouble. just by definition. They're always going to be unpopular. A.J. Brown obviously is so there's two keys to this team, Saquon Barkley and A.J. Brown. But I don't know, is A.J. Brown going to be able to do it? You need Hurts to run. Hurts is really good against a blitz. And who are you going to see in this playoffs? You're going to see maybe the Vikings who blitz like crazy, or the Lions who blitz over 50% of the time in that Week 18 win over the Vikings. You need Jalen Hurts to avoid the rush or you're in trouble.
We thought it was both a little interesting, I don't want to say fishy, but it was a little interesting that the Packers, who are, have Jalen Hurts, who has his own injury issues, that the Eagles only open as a 3.5 point favorite over the Eagles in Philadelphia. We're like, that seems remarkably low. Now that has climbed to 5.5 was the latest I saw. And I think Vegas is onto something, because we didn't know, or at least I don't think the general public was aware, that Jalen Hurts was still in concussion protocol.
I don't know if that was that. I think people think Josh Jacobs is going to gash the Eagles. The Packers and the Eagles played a really, really close game in Brazil earlier in the year. And I think, you saw the Packers were kind of inconsistent last season. They came out like a house on fire in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think there's real fear. I think I'm a little higher on the Packers than you are. I don't like the fact that Jordan Love can't feel his hand. That's definitely a downside for a quarterback. But I do not dismiss Matt LaFleur and Josh Jacobs and that defense against the Eagles. I think I want the Commanders badly. The Packers scare me a little bit just because they seem to have some high upside. Yeah, they played terribly in Week 18 against the Bears. But we saw last year, remember what they did to Dallas? Remember what they did until it started raining in San Francisco? They could be a really good team.
Yeah, listen, I didn't see it coming last year for Green Bay, so I guess I would just not see it coming this year. But I'm almost pulling a Perloff here. I'm jumping off the Packers bandwagon. Packers 0-5 against the Vikings, Lions, and Eagles this season. Now, were they getting blown out in these games? No, they weren't getting blown out, but they also were losing them.
Yeah, but one of them, Jordan Love, I don't know, did Love play? He just came back from an injury against that Minnesota game and did this furious comeback. He was hurt. He was really hurt.
And he might be hurt now.
We all thought he was done for the season at the end of that first game. So I'm not going to count that against him. And Detroit's a little better than Philly. I have no problem losing close games at Detroit. I'm telling you, Green Bay will be heard from once they get healthy. I think you're not into Love like I am. I think Love is fantastic. I think LaFleur is a good coach. If it doesn't happen this year, I think this team is going to be really good moving forward.
Yeah, you did ask last hour, who are these great receivers again that they have? And again, you're going up against a Philadelphia Eagles defense that is tops in almost every major defensive category, and including in the secondary, where they allow no explosive plays. I know you're worried about Josh Jacobs running all over you, but I ask, what running back had this huge day against you guys? I don't remember some running back really going off, and the game you played against the Ravens, you won. So
Jacobs had a nice game that opening week. I remember that.
Okay, but it was
really
September
good.
5th or something. It's January. We're not even in the same year. So much has happened. To go back to week 1, that's like Robert Kraft yesterday saying that he didn't see any progress from the Patriots because they beat the Bengals week 1 and then it was downhill from there. It's like, dude.
Do you know how
that had a little more to do with the Bengals than you guys? It's so stupid to me. That was week 1.
Do you know one of the reasons the Eagles had such success was their offense keeps the defense off the field. They control the ball really well with Saquon Barkley.
No doubt.
I don't think they can control the ball without Jalen Hurts. It's going to put more pressure. You saw when Kenny Pickett came in the game, all of a sudden Washington started getting the ball a lot, and they started running up and down the field.
I think it is the single biggest question going into these playoffs, Jalen Hurts' status, because I don't think that, because they said he's still in concussion protocol, to me it doesn't feel like a gamesmanship thing, right? I don't think you can use maybe you can, but I didn't think you could use the concussion protocol, the 5 steps and layers that you need to pass, as a way to flummox the Packers. Will he, won't he? Oh, you've got to plan for Pickett now and for Jalen Hurts, and we're playing this game with you. I don't know if you can do that with protocol. You're either in it or you're out of it.
The Packers have 2 hurt quarterbacks. They don't even care what the Eagles do at this point. They're trying to cobble together something right now. I don't think it's gamesmanship. The thing is, he's gonna. If he can play at all, he can fake it through his concussion protocol. Would you be
That's not a great message to send? I know.
Oh, this is the NFL in 2024. They don't give a rat's butt about concussions. I've seen guys who are so obviously concussed walk right back into the game time and time again. So I'd be shocked if it was that bad where he can't get in there.
That's what makes me think this is maybe a little bit worse, because you're right, and not to be totally cynical about it, but we have seen guys look like they get concussed and go back into the game pretty easily, and Jalen Hurts hasn't done that. And here's the thing, they could have kept him out of Week 18 just to keep him out. I mean, we saw all these quarterbacks sit.
They didn't play Saquon Barkley. They never would have played Jalen Hurts.
Exactly. So if he could have passed concussion protocol by faking it, don't you think he would have done that and they just would have held him out?
No, because there's no reason to do it, because he wasn't going to play.
Okay. I think he's still feeling symptoms is why he's in the concussion protocol. I think he can't pass it.
He's definitely feeling symptoms, but if he wants to fake his way through it, I'm sure he could. And listen.
Okay. And then what kind of quarterback are you getting? A guy who's you're going to wonder about his decision making?
I think that's what we're facing right now. It's not the decision making. It's not the cognitive ability. It's is he vulnerable if he gets another big hit? I think we're all going to be watching the Eagles play with bated breath every time Jalen Hurts runs.
855-212-4227. I don't know, guys. I can't think of a second in terms of the biggest storyline going into the playoffs, a situation that makes or breaks a team's Super Bowl run, because that is the goal for the Eagles.
Right. I mean, Jordan Love's arm is obviously...
But they're the 7th seed. I know they're probably better than the 7th seed, but you and I picked the Packers to go to the Super Bowl. I don't think we were right about that.
Yeah. I don't know if fully healthy, like, that's a big deal. I don't know. They're the 7th seed because there was 2 14-win teams in their division. I think they would have won probably 6 divisions in the NFL. So yeah, the Lions' health is a big deal. There's a lot of issues, but you're right. Jalen Hurts is the one singular one. By the way, I think there's another team that can challenge the Lions.
In the NFC?
Yeah, I think LA is going to... They play the Lions really tough, went to overtime this year, almost got them last year, and they're playing at a higher level right now. They're a team that I'm sure the Lions, with these health injuries, are not thrilled to be facing the Rams in the second round if that happens.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got to get past Minnesota first, and we'll see what Brian Flores has cooked up for, Matthew Stafford and those guys. Like Flores, listen, Stafford is so good, you're not just going to beat him with a blitz. He'll probably tear you apart with that, but Flores can confuse guys.
Matthew Stafford's 100.
Seen it all.
So confusing. Just throw it to Puka Nacua, who's so strong that he wins every battle for every ball, and they're going to run Kyron Williams a lot. I think the Rams have a good formula. The Vikings, too. Vikings are going to challenge. They'll get a rematch. That game was a lot closer than we talk about. Like, the Vikings were right there through about 2.5 quarters. So it's not going to be easy for the Lions, is my only point.
Yeah. You're right. You're probably not confusing Stafford at this point. You might be able to bait him a little bit, though. A little Andrew Van Ginkel up in everybody's...
Matthew Stafford?
Everybody's chin.
I think he's played Flores many times, I would imagine.
I mean,
Flores was with the Patriots and then the Miami Dolphins. Stafford spent his whole career in the NFC.
No, but Stafford's he's probably played every team at least 2 or 3 times now.
I'm sure.
So he's probably seen Flores a couple of times. Though Flores did confuse Aaron Rodgers. So Aaron Rodgers is old as dirt.
Sean is our pal in Oregon. Sean, what do you think about the NFC?
Well, I can tell you I'm not too afraid of it. And I'm definitely not on the Lions bandwagon. On Thanksgiving Day, I jumped off the Lions bandwagon when I saw the Bears almost beat them in Detroit. And then I saw Sam Darnold, if he wouldn't have had happy feet and he would have made a couple of those throws, Vikings would have won that game the other day. So I'm not on there.
No,
he was terrified of that rush coming right at him.
I'm with you, Sean. I think their defense is too banged up to actually win the Super Bowl. And that's the goal. I mean, that's the bar.
And Matt Stafford could make those throws.
Yeah, he'll hang in there and take the big hit and be a little more settled.
It's going to be something. I mean, it's a funny shaped ball. I'm excited to see what's going to happen. I'm really disappointed in the Steelers. I mean, what team has ever lost 4 games in a row and made it into the playoffs? I can't remember that.
At any point in the season, a 4-game losing streak or 4 games heading on their way into the playoffs. I mean, listen, they stacked.
On the way into the playoffs.
Yeah, 4-game skid.
4 last games.
Sean, we'll get our research team right on that.
I'm kind of curious, actually. You know, Sean, but things were weird for the Steelers, and thanks for the call, because they played that wonky schedule, the 3 games in 11 days. They lost all 3, and then they lost a close one to the Bengals.
Yeah. By the way, I have Stafford's stats against Minnesota this year. I'm not sure.
Score.
Yeah, I'm not sure Flores fooled him that many times. He was 25 for 34, 4 touchdowns and a pick for 280 yards, 124 passer rating, and 88 QBR.
Pretty good day.
Yeah, it's not a bad day. Yeah, I mean, that's the funny thing about Brian Flores. Like, he will win a game like 6-3, and then he'll be in a shootout the next week. It's bizarre. It doesn't work on everybody. Then again, like the fact that the Rams already beat the Vikings, that's good for the Vikings. It's hard to beat a team twice.
By the way, there's been only 3 teams in NFL history to enter the playoffs with a 4-game losing streak. The first team to do it was the 99 Detroit Lions, who got off to a surprising 8-4 start, despite Barry Sanders' retirement, and still ended the season losing 4 in a row.
That was the last one, was 99?
That was the first one. This article is written weird where it's not giving me who the second team was. But maybe it's Texans, looks like. I don't know. But there was only 3 teams in NFL history.
I don't think anyone's expecting much from the Steelers here.
No.
No.
But the funny thing is, like, I think we raised the bar accidentally on the Steelers midway because nobody had the Steelers in the Super Bowl coming into this season. Not this year with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. And then we got all into them, and that was a mistake.
Boy, you better knuckle up.
It's amazing to me that Arthur Smith is getting a head coaching interview.
He didn't urinate down his leg, man. That's a great place to begin.
Who looks at the Steelers offense and is like, give me more of that?
Well,
Plus, we had Arthur Smith as a head coach, and it wasn't great.
They had a stretch where he was doing okay.
Then what happened? Just because George Pickens got hurt?
Well, yeah, that hurt. That was a big deal. And when he came back, he was a different person, or is a different person.
They can't convert a 4th and 1 to save their lives. It is so frustrating to watch the Steelers offense. It like makes me uncomfortable.
Tom is the problem. I mean, he wants this, and that's why
he wants to win 1913.
Yeah, and this is not going to work. It's kind of like we went back to the Mike Vrabel conversation. I just feel like in some ways when you play this conservatively and you have such a good defense, it's easy to win 10 games, but it's hard to win the playoffs. That's probably what I was trying to say earlier. Like, I think this formula they're going to hit the same. It's like fighting in Street Fighter and getting to M. Bison at the end, and you lose at the end because you're not good enough. Like, you're going to lose to the final boss every single time coaching this way. And this is what he wanted. He wanted a conservative guy. He got Arthur Smith. Congratulations. You got 10 wins. You're going to get bounced in the first round.
I will defend the offense for 1 second. I'm looking at these 4 losses at Philadelphia, at Baltimore, Kansas City, and Cincinnati. The defense had really struggled to get the ball back for that offense. Remember Philly? They only had 2 drives in the second half against Philly. Baltimore totally dominated that defense. Like, where is that TJ Watt defense? That hasn't really been super special lately either. So it's not all the offense. Kansas City's offense has done nothing all year. They controlled that game from the get-go. They were really good against Pittsburgh. Then there was Cincinnati. Yeah, so the whole thing, it's not just the offense. Like, I don't know. Remember TJ Watt and Highsmith were killing people early in the year? That's not happening either.
Well, Highsmith got hurt
and
is coming back. I look at the Steelers, their first win in Cincinnati was 44-38. Russ was awesome. They're one of the worst defenses in the league, Cincinnati. So what do you do with the last game of the season? Just run straight into the line 100 times.
You got to sleep fast.
855.
But that was another game. Like
212-4227.
Cincinnati did not let go of the ball. Burrow was like on fire that whole game. First down.
Yeah, they scored a whopping 19 points.
Yeah, well, that was fluky, is all get out. By the time the Steelers get the ball, they can't come from behind. They're not built that way. They need to be either tied or ahead so they can run the ball, or they're dead.
855-212-4227. All right, we got it started with the single biggest question going into the playoffs is the health status of Jalen Hurts. He's okay. If he's okay and out of concussion protocol by the time the game starts, Eagles are no doubt Super Bowl contender. If he's not, that's it. And that would be a crazy ending to what has been a weird season for Philly. A lot of wins, a lot of drama.
What drama?
It's like you
that
have
AJ
amnesia.
Brown crap. That was
Yeah.
that was such a nothing burger. I mean, that was beyond a nothing burger. Honestly, I thought that was the most overhyped story. Like, A.J. Brown's not getting enough targets because Saquon's carrying the ball. Of course he's going to complain. He's complained every year his entire life.
It wasn't just that. It was that.
What else was there?
It was that Hurts and A.J. Brown have a terrible relationship. It wasn't just about the targets.
There's never, wide receivers, it's always about the targets. If they get enough catches, they never complain about anything. I don't care if Jalen Hurts slept with 3 of his wives. If he caught 11 passes a game, I'm just saying, targets is all that matters. For A.J. Brown, you think he cares about anything other than how many catches do I get in a game?
All I know is that Brandon Graham knows a lot more than you and I. He's a captain. He's going to be in the Ring of Honor. He's probably going to the Hall of Fame in an Eagles jersey, and he said there's major bad blood.
And then what happened after A.J. Brown caught 10 passes in the next game?
Oh.
He had a terrible dance.
That story disappeared. They hugged at midfield, and
it's always lurking under the shadows.
All right.
By the way, I'll just say, if Jalen Hurts is doing that to A.J. Brown's wife, that will be the lead of this show for the next 4 months.
That escalated quickly.
Yeah. Is A.J. Brown married?
I don't know, but you gave him 3 wives, and Jalen Hurts was sleeping with all 3 of them.
I wanted to keep it vague. I'm like, if Jalen, I didn't want to say if he's sleeping with his wife, then people would be like, Perloff said that Jalen Hurts is sleeping with A.J. Brown's wife.
I mean, that really
So I
got
made
out
him
of
a
hand
Mormon
fast.
with 3 wives. I don't even know what I did there. But anyway, yeah, all that matters is that they play well. Will you admit you were wrong about Nick Sirianni, by the way?
No.
You said he was going to get fired.
4227. I did say I thought he'd be the first coach fired. Well, I forgot to factor in Woody Johnson being an idiot, firing Robert Saleh.
And you're not going to take an L on that take?
I was just wrong. I think the sentiment of where I was at was not far off.
See, I think you're wrong. I think that sentiment is far off. I think Nick Sirianni is secretly a good coach. And the media will never, ever accept that because he's not good at press conferences.
No, it's not the press conferences. That stuff's great for us. I love when guys are silly at press conferences. It helps our business. I don't think he does a lot. And I think if you're the vibes guy and then it comes out midway through the season that your quarterback and wide receiver hate each other, then you're not doing your job. I think he's being propped up by coordinators and a good front office.
Just one job. It's a W. I think he's 100% doing his job. And he's going to be, I think he'll soon be the winningest coach in the league. Like percentage-wise, like when Nick Sirianni's going to the Hall of Fame, then you're going to have to admit you were wrong.
Yeah. Mike Shanahan's not in the Hall of Fame, but Nick Sirianni, everyone clear a path.
I think we all misunderstand what's going on there because you cannot win this many games and be a bad coach.
Can we just clip this for if somehow Philadelphia gets upset before the NFC Championship game or whatever and Perloff wants to fire Nick Sirianni?
I mean, listen. It's going to be a brutal path through here. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. I almost want to pick the Packers. If Jordan Love was healthy, I think this could be a tough game. Every game is going to be tough for the Eagles.
855-212-4227.
It was a 3.5-point spread. It was one of the closest spreads of the weekend.
Because your quarterback's in concussion protocol. That's the only reason.
Ooh, you guys are wrong about the Packers, too. Packers are way better than I think everyone in this room thinks they are.
Let us know. 855-212-4227. Do we have it wrong on the Packers? You know what we have to do? A little M&P 500. A little leftover from yesterday, but plenty to get to, even more to get to now that we're doing it on a Tuesday. Whose stock is up? Whose stock is down?
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome to Leonard Skinner Tuesday here on the Maggie and Perloff Show. I love educating you young kids on dinosaur rock. When I was in high school, we had this rock station in Philadelphia called WMMR 93.3. Big deal.
Yeah.
I think our former boss, Spike, might have worked there. They would play, on the way to school, they play Sweet Home Alabama. Then you'd walk into the halls of school and everybody would be humming Sweet Home Alabama. That was like radio, FM radio used to be like that with songs. Now, does that happen anymore with songs?
I just also remember growing up with like a classic rock station, obviously,
Yeah.
and it was like the Rock Ride. That was always what it was. It was like the Pink Floyd 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
It's the Rock Rides. You could just like get stoned with your friends, I guess, and listen to Pink Floyd on FM radio.
We had
the good old days.
We had the rock station, then we had the Quiet Storm station. Like that was great. At night, you'd play that, like Philadelphia, like Teddy Pendergrass and all that stuff was a big deal. We had a lot of music stations, and now I think people get their music in different ways, obviously. But their sports talk radio, That is going strong.
Well, listen, there's nowhere else to be but right here, the Maggie and Perloff Show, Infinity Sports Network, and the Odyssey app, and the podcast. And you can watch the show, youtube.com/Infinity Sportsnet, twitch.tv/Infinity Sports Network, and on X at Maggie Gray. We're everywhere.
Wait, Pearl, you recognize that song because that was the song that you
Yeah,
said
no,
that you
I didn't know it. Like, I know like Freebird and I know Sweet Home Alabama. Actually, I kind of thought that was the Allman Brothers who were singing. I didn't even know that was Leonard Skinner. But it's same kind of thing. I definitely know that song. It's played on the radio 1,000 million times.
I know. Well, it's funny because for Manny and maybe EJ, who just learned who Leonard Skinner was yesterday, you get a whole new band to listen to now.
You're not going to listen to that band.
Not a chance.
By the way, I know that LeAngelo Ball now has gone pro in something other than sports.
That's G3 to you.
Oh, is it?
I think so.
Can I decline?
Didn't one of the sons have to go to Lithuania at one point? Can we send LeAngelo? Anyway.
I think LeAngelo did go to
Lithuania.
Lithuania.
That's why he's rapping now.
I thought LaMelo went to Lithuania. Anyway,
Yes.
what does it matter? The Ball kids, LeVar, 2 out of 3, not bad for LeVar. I don't love everything he said when he was like a media comet that flashed over the sky.
Never lost.
But LeAngelo looks like now he's got the hottest song. They were playing it in the Lions locker room after they beat the Vikings.
You guys swerve and bend that corner, Maggie.
Whoa.
Okay.
It's like 2 different shows. In there and in here.
You know what? You're right. We're separated by double pane glass in about 2 decades. But it's a time machine, that glass. But can I give you one pop culture thing from yesterday? So I know you guys are massive WWE fans. I'm talking to Bogusch and Perloff particularly.
Watched it last night.
Did you watch it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so they were on Netflix last night.
Yep.
The first time they're ever on Netflix. I'm going to say something. It's going to make me sound like a hater. I'm just going to say it because everyone's thinking it. Haters. The Rock looked old. The Rock is looking old.
As old as John Cena looked?
Oof.
Oh, damn.
Didn't even think about Cena, but...
Cena?
Who looked older, The Rock or Cena?
Poll question. I was worried about... Because here's the thing about The Rock. Everyone knows this is just everything. When you are getting older, you don't stand next to the younger, attractive person. So The Rock already was looking a little older. This is not his fault, by the way. You age, we all age. And then he stands next to Roman Reigns. I'm like, oh man, don't do that.
Well, when you're wearing a Versace vest and a Cuban link chain to go with like some weird sunglasses, that doesn't help a guy in his 50s look younger.
I'm going with a young, attractive guy. Yeah. So you're saying you should be like Cena and stick with the jorts for decade number 3?
Well, he's
Another
got to.
terrible outfit for a guy in his late 40s.
He's got to stick with the jorts, though, guys. Cena getting rid of the jean shorts is like sacrilegious. It'd be like the Undertaker coming in on a horse instead of a motorcycle.
At what point does he graduate past like looking like a 3rd grader on the first day of school? Is that what he looked like last night?
Is he going to graduate into some cargo shorts next?
Yeah.
He did wrestle in cargo shorts for a little while. That's like his alternate if he doesn't do the jorts.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, what range?
What a commercial for wrestling you guys are putting on right now.
No. So I did too.
I'm a convert.
The matches were fun. But
Wait,
The Rock didn't wrestle.
What matches? That's the thing I was going to say. I remember when I was a kid, they'd actually wrestle at a wrestling match.
It was 30 minutes of just like, thanks, Netflix. Let's show all the Netflix people. It was
a
lot of speeches going on last
first
night.
for 30 was weird. Then the wrestling started, and that was good.
I thought the wrestling was actually very good. I thought they were good last night. The matches were really entertaining. But yeah, you had to work for it. You had to wait around.
Wait. You actually watched it. So you invested 3 hours into this thing?
I stayed in this.
You stayed for all 3?
Yeah.
I stayed for like an hour.
I watched like an hour of John Cena's speech and then turned it off. Like
The women's match I thought was the best one.
Oh my God.
You weren't watching it, though.
It was good. Yeah, what do you mean?
They were excellent.
So you guys really put a lot of time in this. Wow. I'm impressed.
I mean, I was also reading about the Packers.
Twitter
I was
telling
multitasking.
Twitter was telling me the Knicks game was not something I wanted to see. So I just stayed. By Twitter, I mean Manny's Twitter. So I just stayed on wrestling. I was like, I'm going to watch another Netflix promo.
Bogusch, what were you watching last night? Definitely not wrestling because you're a conscientious objector.
Yes. I was watching mostly that FCS game.
North Dakota State, Montana State was a banger.
We had a fun one last night. My girls wanted to watch Bend It Like Beckham, which is on Disney. Never seen it before.
You've never seen it?
I've seen it. No, they haven't seen it.
Oh.
They're huge Keira Knightley fans. That movie holds up well,
Great
except
movie.
that the coach dates the girl at the last scene. Very problematic in the year
Yeah.
2024.
Yes.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's about a woman soccer player in London who's 18 and ends up dating her coach.
Is she 18? I was never really sure what her age
Yeah,
was.
she didn't look 18. Anyway, great movie.
Except for that part.
Yeah, I'm a very frenetic TV watcher. I have to watch like 7 things, like 10 minutes of this, 10 minutes of that. That's the problem with streaming sports is it's hard to flip. Like, EJ, because you watch wrestling on cable your whole life, you just flip at the commercial breaks.
Right.
Now they got you. It's a huge issue for sports watching.
That was throwing me off last night too, because I'm watching it on streaming. Usually I'm watching wrestling on streaming, it's a PLE, what used to be a pay-per-view, so there's no commercials.
Yeah.
I kept they were like, all right, be right back. I'm like, go where? This is Netflix. Can you just, you're getting enough money. Can't you just stay here? And there were still a lot of promos and commercials.
Same thing with Amazon Prime when they do football games.
thing.
Like, where are you guys going? It's like, oh, to sell me whatever.
But you know what's cool though, and I kind of feel like the NFL. I mean, I'm giving the NFL a free game here, but WWE apparently, if you don't live in the U.S. or in Canada, other countries who are watching on Netflix are getting more WWE content. So they're either watching the match that's on commercial break, or like they'll just go to the back and have an interview with some other wrestler. And I'm like, that'd be a great idea for the NFL if they were trying to grow their audience. Like, when I went to London, that's what they did for the NBA Finals. There was never a commercial break.
Oh.
The game would stop, and then they'd be 2 guys talking in the studio about, like, literally what just happened. I was like, this is really cool.
That's kind of cool.
I saw WB doing that. I was like, man, that could be a future of sports maybe, especially if you're living outside the country.
And if you're going to pay for it. Like,
Exactly.
if I'm going to pay more, give me a little bit more content.
But they're paying so much money, Amazon and Netflix, that they have to put in ads to even try and get half that money back, which I think they will never get back. I think it's a kind of an intentional loss just to get people to subscribe to Netflix. I mean, how much are they paying for wrestling? It's a crazy number, right?
I want to say it's in the billions.
Yeah.
I think
so
it's a
you
crazy deal.
Get used to commercials.
Bogusch has had enough of our WWE talk.
The Knicks were mentioned recently. I want to begin with them because
why?
Is this the end? They did not win the NBA Cup, and now they can't even beat the injury-riddled Magic at the Garden.
Here's AB. Over to Cole, waiting for the screen from Dell. Cole didn't really use it, goes baseline. Now he kicks it up top, Wendell. Thought about the 3, back to Cole. A good look for 3 from the left wing. Cash! Hollywood Cole, back home in New York. 98-86, 12-point Magic lead with 2:20 to go.
That's Magic Radio. Orlando doesn't even have a single Wagner. Their top 4 scorers are out, and they still win in New York, 103-94. The Knicks have dropped a season-high 3 in a row. They missed 18 of 22 threes last night, posting a season low for points. You can hear the panic in Tibbs' voice.
They played a good game, and we played a low-energy game, and, we fell short.
And it's not just on-court problems for the Knicks either. Even Mike Breen is struggling on TV.
And actress Susie Essman from Pardon the Interruption. My guess is you never saw Pardon the Interruption. Nope. Well, if you want, Susie Essman's dialogue would make you blush. She was hilarious. Or, not Pardon the Interruption. Curb Your Enthusiasm. Excuse me. I don't know why I said pardon the interruption.
Yeah, trick question. No one's seen Susie Essman on Pardon the Interruption.
I would love it if all of a sudden she and Kornheiser are going back and forth and she's like, Tony, F this, Tony.
Put that on HBO. Not safe for work, party interruption with Susie. That would be amazing.
Just calling out Nick Sirianni and other coaches, the Jets.
Effing idiot Sirianni.
Why is it when I went to that Knicks game, all the celebrities, only my daughter knew who they were? I didn't get a Susie Essman.
You would have died
my
for
daughter,
that.
I would have just liked to up my daughter once. I'm like, oh, you don't know who she is, but you're not allowed to watch that show?
The language.
The Knicks also put out like a nightly gallery of all their celebs.
Yeah.
And if I get half of them, I feel good about myself.
Yeah.
I'm with you on some. I'm just not in tune with the cool stuff anymore.
Do they include the regulars in that gallery? Like, is always Stiller, McEnroe, and Chris Rock?
Yes. They
They never include Spike, which is interesting.
Ooh.
Because he pays for his own ticket.
Is that?
Yeah.
I was wondering about that.
The ones that the other people.
Those are the guests.
They're comped.
So is John McEnroe's comped every night? that he goes?
I think whatever game he wants to go to, he goes comped. It's almost like Boomer. So Boomer Esiason, former MVP, who's a massive Rangers fan, he buys his own season tickets. So they don't like put Boomer on the Jumbotron every time, even though they could.
So a guy like Ben Stiller, doesn't he go to every single game almost? Like
he goes to a lot. I don't know every game, but he goes to a lot.
He doesn't. So he's comped like 35 times a season.
Yeah, I think it's the same as a Staples Center, or sorry, whatever.
But like
Crypto.com arena.
Jack Nicholson never bought his tickets, probably.
No.
But Chris Rock does.
No, I don't think Chris Rock does.
Spike Lee does.
Yeah, Spike Lee he does buy them.
Yeah.
He's made sure to say that.
Also, Evan Roberts.
Evan also buys tickets for a team that he hates.
By the way, you could just see the disdain in Bogusch that he was willing to take just a complete stray at a fellow Fordham alum in Mike Breen just so he can talk about how bad the Knicks night was last night.
I know. By the way, I'm calling Breen and telling him you did that.
Yeah, please do.
Andrew Bogusch is a bad guy.
Like, hey, Mike Breen, Happy New Year. And also,
this is what your mentee
You thought
did.
you were friends with Andrew Bogusch. Think again.
Hey, the clip ends up in our system. I play it.
Yes, you're just Ron Burgundy
I'm
here
just
reading
a
off the
robot.
teleprompter.
It gets put in front of me. I hit play. I write a lead in, and away we go. Other NBA
I
action.
didn't like it.
Last night, the Bulls beat the Spurs 114-110 after trailing by 19 in the third. Wemby, 23 points, 14 boards, 8 blocks in the loss. Anthony Edwards scored 28 of his 37 in the second half to get the T-Wolves past the Clippers 108-106. And the Pistons topped the Blazers 118-115 to level their record at 18-18. Detroit at the 500 mark after New Year's Day for the first time since 2019. The only men's top 25 action last night saw number 12 Houston smother TCU 65-46. The Cougars have won 31 in a row at home. North Dakota State a 35-32 win over Montana State to win their 10th FCS title. Bison QB Cam Miller accounting for 320 yards of offense and 3 touchdowns. And Scotty Scheffler will miss a second event now, next week's Amex in California, because of his hand injury. Scheffler had surgery after the Christmas Day accident. He is planning to return at Pebble Beach in a couple of weeks. Guys, back to you.
Bogusch, thanks so much. Coming up, whose stock is up, whose stock is down? It's the M&P 500.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The M&P 500 on the Infinity Sports Network.
Welcome back. This is usually a Monday thing. We had so much going on yesterday with the breaking news around the coaching stuff that we have to punt it to today. The M&P 500, whose stock is up, whose stock is down after a big weekend. Pearl, get us going.
Okay, my stock up. Aaron Rodgers. 4 touchdowns in his last game. Here's some stats on Aaron Rodgers. His last 10 games as his Achilles started to heal, 18 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Last 5 games, 98.4 passer rating. The numbers are undeniable, got better and better and better as his leg became more stable. He is going to be if he decides to play again next year and can get out of New Jersey, he is going to be a very, very productive quarterback next year.
Yeah, you might be on an island with that one. But yes, I see how the final numbers. But why didn't they win games then?
They stink. They're a bad team. Wait till and I actually have some more numbers, by the way. I'll save for later in the week. But what happens when you leave the Jets as a quarterback? Your numbers skyrocket like crazy. If he can get to the right team next year, he's going to have a Brady-like renaissance.
Okay, my stock up is going to go to rookie quarterbacks in the playoffs. We got 2 of them, Bo Nix, Jalen Daniels. So far, this rookie class feels like it's delivering. Drake May looks really good. Penix definitely looks like a starter in this league in very limited action. We'll see about J.J. McCarthy. And Caleb Williams, was not terrible. Could it have been better? I don't know. Considering the coaching staff and some of the challenges, I think it will be better. And I don't think the story is all written about who's going to end up being the best QB from this class, whether it's Caleb, whether it's Jaden Daniels. I still think Caleb Williams needs to get with the right coach. And then let's see. He got set back this year because Eberflus should have been gone before the season. But stock up, rookie quarterbacks, great class, and 2 of them in the playoffs, and Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix. Okay, stock down.
All right, I'm going Minnesota Vikings, and this is obvious. They just, all of a sudden, all the goodwill just disappeared in the second half. Sam Darnold, obviously, They found a formula to pressure him. I just think I don't want to say they're the 13-4 Kirk Cousins Vikings that lost in the first round of the Giants. I just think they're the 13-4 Kirk Cousins. Like this is they're a very, very thin team for their record. I don't think you can argue that. They're not in the top 10 in point differential in the league, and yet they only have 3 losses. Like it was just the AFC South schedule. It all came home. Like the distance between even a beat up Lions team and them was revealed on Sunday. Stock down, Minnesota.
Okay. My stock down is going to be Mike Tomlin. 4 straight losses going into the playoffs, and it just gets compounded because now it's been 8 years since you won a playoff game, and you can see they show the graphic on TV about how much success he had early in his tenure, Perloff, in terms of the playoffs, but now how it's really tailed off. And listen, it's hard to replace a Hall of Fame quarterback in Ben Roethlisberger, but it's taken a long time for them to get like anywhere good, medium to good quarterback play, and I don't think he's going anywhere. We had the report that a team might try to trade for him. I don't think that's going to happen. But this might be the lowest that Tomlin's stock, I don't know if it's ever been, because they have missed the playoffs, even though he's got the plus 500 record, above 500 record. It's pretty close, I think.
He was leading candidate for Coach of the Year for a big chunk of this year. How did he get to 10 wins?
I thought Dan Quinn was actually the leading candidate for Coach of the Year for a lot of this
But Tomlin
year.
was definitely in the mix. This was definitely considered by many through half the season his finest coaching job. Like, he just took this team with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields at quarterback to the playoffs. I don't know. I have trouble being down on Tomlin. I think we raised the bar accidentally during the season. Like, if I told you in August that this was going to happen, they were going to be 10-7, you would have never said, oh, that's a bad year for Tomlin. You say, oh, it's more of the same, right?
Yeah, more of the same, but I think nobody is expecting them to go into Baltimore and win this game.
No, of course not.
So then you're almost at a decade without a playoff win.
Yeah, but they did nothing this offseason, personnel-wise, that was going to help them win. They almost punted on this year. Like, they don't have an answer at quarterback. They missed on Pickett. Okay, I'll go another stock up. Baker Mayfield. Is there a guy who is gone from polarizing to universally beloved more than Baker Mayfield? That throw he made at the end of the game against the Saints to McMillan in the corner of the end zone when he escaped, and just... he had about a 2-inch window to get it into. He got it into. I just think that the good vibes around Baker Mayfield, win or lose in round 1, are now in concrete. This guy is a beloved quarterback.
Yeah, I talked to people in Cleveland about that. You know, you just got the news yesterday that Deshaun Watson is having a setback in his Achilles. Not that anyone, I think, wants to see Watson again in Cleveland. That experiment appears to be over, but... you don't want a setback.
Right.
You still owe the guy $100 million. I think people in Cleveland are pining for Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it was not exactly going swimmingly at the end of the Cleveland era. But remember, like, he used to be a guy who was a bit controversial, used to confront the press. I don't know. He feels like a cheerleader for the NFL now. I feel like they would put him on a poster of likable quarterbacks.
My stock up, I'm going to actually go to the Tennessee Titans, who get the number 1 overall pick. Okay, is it a robust draft class when it comes to quarterbacks? No, but I think either Shedeur or Cam Ward, but I actually think they're both going to be good. I'm leaning towards Cam Ward for them, even though I know the report came out that they like Shedeur. They're going to get the top pick, and they're going to find a future QB. Nobody was talking about the Tennessee Titans with the number 1 pick. It was Manny's Giants were going to have it, and maybe the Patriots, who blew it, they were going to have the number 1 pick. And then all of a sudden, here come the Titans, losing in the proper way in Week 18, 3-14, matched the record of the Browns and the Giants, but they won all the tiebreakers. And now they have the number 1 pick in a year when they need a quarterback, and to be at the top of the draft is a perfect place to be.
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable. If this goes well, they could one day be 9-8 and go out on the first round of the playoffs like every other AFC South team with the number 1 overall pick. This is going nowhere. It's the Titans. They're structural. Like all these bad teams we're talking about at the top of the draft, Cleveland, Tennessee, the New York Giants. I just cannot get excited. I mean, are you really excited about Shedeur Sanders going to the Titans? Like, that's the outcome about the Titans? So you're going to actually, they're going to be on at 1 o'clock every day game, and you're going to tune into the Titans? You haven't watched a Titans game in 9 years, and all of a sudden, and I know, and I say you, I mean all of NFL Nation.
I was going to say, I watch lots of Titans games.
There's nothing about that uniform. That's an immediate must-turn, the Titans. They're the most boring team.
Not with Shedeur or Cam Ward, they're not going to be boring. It's going to be fun and exciting.
No, they're going to be boring. because the Jags have Trevor Lawrence. The Colts have Anthony Richardson. The Houston Texans have C.J. Stroud. The second an AFC South game comes on my television, it's a switch to channel. They are always, these four franchises cannot get out of their own way, and they will not win a Super Bowl.
You love watching Anthony Richardson.
I mean, I say that, but I mean, like the Colts and Jags are on, like what they play
Don't
like
judge me
9
by
times.
my words.
The Colts and the Jags play like 9 times a year, right? Like they're on every, like, don't you always turn it off that AFC South game? I'm not even being controversial here. We all know that is the least popular division in the NFL. If it's like the Color Rush Thursday night game.
I think they've shed that a little bit.
The Titans, come on. How can you get excited about the Titans, Maggie?
Well, C.J. Stroud just had the best rookie season of a quarterback ever, and put Shedeur Sanders anywhere, it's going to be must watch.
Nope. It's going to be must turn the channel.
855-212-4227. All right. We had some people telling lies yesterday. And when people tell lies, we call them out here on the Maggie and Perloff show. Nobody is safe. Who was lying? We'll tell you next.
Wrestling is trash, Bogusch declares. Old John Cena, don't get me started on his George Flair. He mocks the attitude era, calls it a joke. Who wears jean shorts while throwing a joke? Mentor Manny Rodriguez with his fiery take, saying Bogusch is the worst, he's a total fake. He's no Fordham great, just a loudmouth dud. I'd pick John Cena over this clown any day, bud. Benjamin Manny Rodriguez with his fiery take. Bogusch is softer than my tiramisu souffle. He's no Mike Wilbon, who's classy and wise. Bogusch just a guy with delusional ties. Mike Wilbon laughs from his ESPN seat. Bogusch thinks he's clever, but he's obsolete. Stick to your rants and your green betrayal plan. You couldn't lace up John Cena's wristbands, man. Man, he's got the mic and he's taking his shot. Bogusch, you're all talk and you've lost the plot. Wrestling, green, and fortified, you dissed them all. Susie Wilbon and Manny, man, you're bound to fall. Meanwhile, his Lex, still not at work. Bogusch just laughs, that guy's such a quirk. Fordham's finest, now he's burned that bridge. Wrestling, Breen, and Susie straight off the ridge. Enter Manny Rodriguez with his fiery take, saying Bogusch is fake. He's no Fordham great, just a lout. That I'd pick John Cena over this clown. He's a total fake. He's no Fordham fake. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's Mike Fordham laughs from his ESPN seat. Bogusch is the worst, he's a total fake. He's no Fordham great, just a loudmouth dud. I'd pick John Cena over this clown any day, bud. Oh, man.
Andrew Bogusch, he's a man on the scene. Once a proud Fordham Malum like Mike Breen. But now he's gone rogue, yeah, he's breaking the code. Backstabbing Breen while he steals the show. Wrestling is trash. Bogusch declares, oh John Cena, don't get me started on his George Flair. He mocks the attitude era, calls it a joke. Who wears jean shorts while throwing a choke? Aaron Manny Rodriguez with his fiery take, saying Bogusch is the worst, he's a total fake. He's no Fordham great, just a loudmouth dud. I'd pick John Cena over this clown any day, bud. Rodriguez with his fiery take, saying Bogusch is the worst, he's a total fake. He's no Fordham great, just a loudmouth dud. I'd pick John Cena over this clown any day, bud. Enter Manny Rodriguez with his fiery take, saying Bogusch is the worst, he's a total fake. He's no Fordham great, just a loudmouth dud. I'd pick John Cena over this clown any day, bud. Susie Essman chimes in, sharp as a blade. Bogusch is...
Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
It's a win-win. The report that Mike McCarthy is possibly being courted by the Chicago Bears. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. So the Dallas Cowboys head coach does not have a contract now, Perloff. He cannot do an interview unless Jerry Jones gives a blessing until January 14th, so that's next week. But according to ESPN, the Chicago Bears want to interview McCarthy for their vacant head coach job, and I love this for both parties. First of all, for the tortured Dallas Cowboy fans in our life and in our audience, you get rid of McCarthy, which I think you're ready for anyway. Guy had some nice seasons, 12 wins, couldn't get it done in the playoffs. You need someone to put you over the top. He can't do that. Okay, say goodbye to him, get some new blood in, a little change. And then for the Bears, this is a team that's not thinking Super Bowl next year. That'd be pie in the sky. That's unrealistic. They're thinking develop Caleb Williams, which Mike McCarthy can do. He can develop a young quarterback, and he would give him the most gravitas, I guess, since Lovie Smith took the Bears to the Super Bowl. This would be a slam dunk hire. I know John Fox was a head coach previously, but this would be a slam dunk hire for them because McCarthy will not embarrass you as an organization. In fact, far from it. Not like Matt Eberflus. Listen, I get Mike McCarthy isn't Mr. Clock Management, game management. He looks like Einstein compared to Eberflus. He will not lose you a game like Eberflus did on Thanksgiving with the entire world watching and obviously cost him his job.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's always the goal if you're a franchise, to get the guy who just won 7 games in Dallas with a massive payroll. Yeah, I just can't get excited about a retread, a double retread. I don't know what you call it, a 3-tread with Mike McCarthy. It'd be his 3rd team. Like, that just can't, you can't do that. You can't just hire a guy who just came off a losing season, who already felt like a retread in Dallas. Like, I'm sorry, like you have a potential superstar quarterback. You got to bring in somebody fresh to build around. You got to find your Sean McVay. You cannot go for the safe pick with Mike McCarthy.
Listen, when have the Bears ever found their Sean McVay?
I mean,
what evidence do you have that this organization is on the cusp of bringing in Sean McVay? You have absolutely no evidence of that.
No, but I mean, that doesn't mean that they can't try. I mean, they've hired so many defensive coaches too. It's like, I think Lovey was a defensive coach, wasn't he? Yeah, like they
not Matt Nagy. He was an offensive
and he was
coach.
Good, and he actually made the playoffs.
Then why isn't he their head coach?
He kind of hit a wall. I mean, there are obviously bigger problems there in Chicago. Nagy was not terrible as the Bears coach at all. I mean, do you think he was?
I know that they couldn't wait to get rid of him, and Trubisky did not work out. Although he didn't draft Trubisky, but I don't think that you can say we're ready to bring in our Sean McVay. And listen, maybe Ben Johnson is that guy, and maybe Caleb Williams is so attractive that Ben Johnson, who's going to have the pick of whatever job he wants, he'll say, give me Chicago. It's a great city. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you get all that stuff. He's familiar with the division because he's the offensive coordinator with the Lions. All of that makes sense. But I don't hate the McCarthy idea. In fact, I really like it because McCarthy also knows the division. Granted, it's been a while since he's been in the NFC North, but he was in that division for over a decade. And I believe that he would be able to develop Caleb Williams. And beyond that, I don't think McCarthy's like a bad culture guy. The thing about the Ben Johnsons or something like that, they're just unknown. Right. It's a high unknown. I've already farted away 1 year with Caleb Williams. I can't afford to take a risk on another guy who's going to come in and he might be terrible. He might just be a career offensive coordinator. There's a reason why Ben Johnson hasn't taken a job yet.
He's 37 and he didn't interview last year. That's the only reason. He would have gotten 5 offers last year.
No, I'm saying he could have. You're telling me that the Washington Commanders is not an attractive job now? He turned them down. He could have been.
Well, they were coming into a new ownership. There are a lot of questions. Like, I'm not blaming him for that. They were coming off to the Snyder era.
Listen, I just think that, okay, maybe he's just being picky. That's fine, and he's earned that. But there's also maybe he feels like he's not ready. Maybe he's going into something where, I don't know, maybe he's not like head coach material. Maybe he just likes to be the genius offensive play caller. You don't know. I know Mike McCarthy can be a head coach.
Ben Johnson. So you don't think Ben Johnson's taking a job this year?
Oh, I don't know.
I do. He's definitely taking a job. I mean,
yeah, probably. But I thought he was taking a job last year.
No,
why not last year?
Because I think he thought I can win the Super Bowl here with the Lions. I'm not going to turn down that opportunity. You say Washington's a good job now. Like,
what if they lose this year?
I think he's gone. I think he gave it one more year.
Okay. Well, but I'm just saying you have no evidence that he's a good head coach.
I mean, you do have Caleb Williams. Like, you really need an offensive mind in there. McCarthy is technically an offensive mind, but I don't feel like he feels cutting edge. You know, you look around the league, like, who are the other interviews? It's Liam Cohen. Like, that looked really good in Tampa Bay. Their offense was...
the 10-point deficit that they had to overcome in the fourth quarter against a BS Saints team? That looked awesome.
You don't think that Tampa Bay's offense looked good this year? I'm surprised by that. But then Joe Brady at Buffalo is in the name. He's 35. Like, that's exciting. He's young. You got, I'm not going to say Cliff, but you got a lot of offensive minds around. Like, bring somebody in there who is going to really like spread out that offense and make life easier for Caleb Williams. It was a mess last year. I'm sorry, Shane Waldron. I didn't know he was going to be that bad, but there was no easy plays for Caleb Williams. Like, give him some layups, get that offense going, kind of like Cliff Kingsbury did early Kyler Murray. I don't even care. I don't think McCarthy is definitely going to be up to that job. I feel like they could be like 4-13 with McCarthy. I think that could go south fast.
Oh, I don't think so. I think you have way more variance with a Ben Johnson or someone who's never been a head coach than you do with a guy who's got decades of experience of being a head coach. And I think Mike McCarthy, you said he's barely an offensive guy. Come on, let's not rewrite history. He's 100% an offensive guy. He's 100% a quarterback guy.
2005 West Coast offense guy.
Dak Prescott literally came in runner-up for MVP last year with him calling plays for Dak Prescott. I don't know where if you want to kill McCarthy on game management and some play calling decisions, and he kind of sometimes sounds a little bumbling. You can totally there on that. But I can't knock the guy for what he actually has put on his resume, which is he is a good quarterbacks coach. He did get the most out of Dak Prescott. Why has Dak Prescott got $60 million? Partially because of Mike McCarthy.
Stayed healthy a year. But, at the end of Aaron Rodgers, like, it was getting stale.
And I'm sure that had nothing to do with Rodgers.
Well, Rodgers,
now, the more we know about Rodgers not wearing out his welcome a little bit, too.
He had 2 MVP seasons after he left.
Because he got a chip on his shoulder that the team had the audacity to draft Jordan Love.
I think it's McCarthy. But you see the same thing with Dallas's offense. Like, it just missing something. In key moments, like Dak and CeeDee Lamb, like, they just didn't have, like, the easy plays. When things started to get off the rails, like, things get off the rails fast. I
think you're looking at one game, the loss to Green Bay, which is totally fair. CD was terrible in that game. Dak was terrible in that game. The defense couldn't stop the run in that game.
Obviously
everything was bad about it.
The Niners lost too.
Okay, yeah. Now, if you want to put that on McCarthy also, but CeeDee Lamb, there's a reason why CeeDee Lamb, I put some of that on Dak also, but there's a part where CeeDee Lamb became one of the best receivers in the league.
In the regular season.
Okay, in the regular season. I mean, he had an all-time great game against Tampa. There's a reason why he got paid basically just one shade below Justin Jefferson. And I think the fact that the Cowboys didn't have a second weapon receiver is not Mike McCarthy's fault. It's Jerry Jones's fault.
Yeah, maybe, but still, I can't get excited about it. And I'm sure Chicago's with me on this one. Like, they would take McCarthy, but it's not like, yay, we got Mike McCarthy. And it doesn't feel like Mike McCarthy's going back to the Super Bowl with that team. At least I'm just saying, like, Ben Johnson, you might strike gold. I don't think you're getting, I think Ben Johnson, if I'm Ben Johnson, I'm staying far away from that team. I would go somewhere else. And even with Trent Baalke in Jacksonville, I would still rank Jacksonville above Chicago.
Because of Trevor. So here's
and it's also warmer.
So, well, fair. Here's one thing I really need answered about Ben Johnson, okay? Because what's the one thing about the Lions that we criticize the most as, like, the public? Dan Campbell's decisions on fourth down, okay?
Right.
So who's Ben Johnson when it comes to these types of calls? Because when you're the head guy and it's your decision, if he's going to be of the Dan Campbell, let's take it both ways. Say he's of the Dan Campbell mold, okay? And there's not a play too aggressive for him to call, and it's always fourth downs in your own territory, taking massive risks.
Okay.
Some of those don't work out. Do you have the stones, like Dan Campbell does, to stick with it? Because for all that, I know Brandon Staley was not a very good coach, but that was his MO in his first season with the Chargers when they made the playoffs. It was always about going for it on fourth down, always about fourth down. A couple of them didn't work. He got criticized and he turtled. And then it became this sort of weird in between. Is he going to go for it? Is he not? So who is Ben Johnson? And does he, if he is going to be Mr. Fourth Down, aggressive like Dan Campbell, when it doesn't work out, are you going to stick with it? Are you going to run from it? Because all of a sudden you're the top guy now who's getting the criticism. Like Dan Campbell got eviscerated after the NFC Championship loss to the 49ers. Totally eviscerated. Does Ben Johnson have the backbone to stand up there and to stay with his convictions if some of these fourth down plays don't work and you lose big games and get criticized for it?
Wait, I'm confused. So do you want him to go for fourth down or not go for it on fourth down?
Well, I'm asking, is he going to be Dan Campbell Jr.? You know, once he gets out on his own.
Is that good or bad?
It's what's his style going to be? You don't know is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but either way is fine. But
no,
but
not either way. It's fine.
Well, if he can recreate this offense, and who cares what he does on fourth down? Like if you could run the ball like that at any team, if you could be 15-2 and have a bunch of tough fourth down decisions, I think I don't think that's a concern. And besides, so pick one way or the other. Go pick either lane. Who cares? If your offense is great, what's the difference?
Okay, but this is the thing. It's not like pick one or the other. You have to have an identity when it comes to this stuff, I think, because you look at what Dan Campbell has done. He's stuck to it, even after that NFC Championship game where you have a 3-score lead and you blow it, and fourth down decisions were a major reason why. You didn't play conservative at all. You stayed super aggressive, and it cost you.
Yeah, but Dan Campbell's considered one top, now he's one of the top coaches. So, I mean, everybody would want Dan Campbell, wouldn't they?
Well, ask after the NFC Championship game last year if everyone wanted Dan Campbell, because that was not the case.
I think, honestly, if this is what we're talking about, the teams who are hiring, that's a luxury problem to have to worry about the fourth down calls in the NFC title game. I mean, I just think it's not even about Ben Johnson. The formula for all the great coaches is offensive coordinator and a great team. It becomes that's where you get the good coaches from. That's why you look at these playoffs, it's filled with guys who are offensive coordinators and got their first job. That's what McCarthy was. I think he was I guess he was OC. He was also a quarterback coach. I mean, pretty much Kevin O'Connell, what do you think he is? Basically Ben Johnson is Kevin O'Connell 2.0. Why would any team not want to hire that?
Well, first of all, Kevin O'Connell hasn't played in these playoffs yet. So, yeah, he's probably going to win Coach of the Year now, and they have this gaudy record. But if they lose to the Rams, I think a little of the shine is going to come off of Kevin O'Connell.
Maybe. The dude took Sam Darnold to a 14-3 record.
I'm just saying there's a lot to be written here about Kevin O'Connell. I'm not saying he's a bad coach. I'm just saying the stock is so high on him right now. If they lose by a touchdown to the Rams in L.A., which is not a crazy thing to say.
Oh, definitely.
Then it's okay. So I'm saying this stuff is fluid, and you don't know anything about Ben Johnson and what his philosophy is.
Well, what his offense looks like. He's play calling, so you do have something on paper.
But about the fourth down decisions, is that him or is that
I think
Campbell?
You're overestimating that. I think if you can have honestly, if you could all these guys, I'm looking at Matt LaFleur, Sean Payton, if you could just get a good offense and be in the position to make these tough fourth down calls, most owners would take that.
Okay.
I'm not so worried about that. I want to turn my quarterback into a star, and I think Ben Johnson can do that.
855-212-4227. He's going to be walking into a little bit of a different team. The idea that he's going to have a GM that's probably as talented as Brad Holmes.
Unlikely.
Unlikely.
Yeah.
And the fact that you may have ownership who actually stuck with the Lions through some really tough times. 3-13-1, starting off 1-7 the next year. I mean, the Lions actually showed a lot more patience than his next ownership might if you go through some growing pains, especially with a guy like Caleb Williams, who, if he does take the Bears job, has so many expectations.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been a good argument for him to take over in Jacksonville, but then since they kept Trent Baalke,
right.
Yeah, that's a good point. Chicago is a tough spot. I agree. It's a bit of a crucible.
Totally. Let's go to the phones. 855-212-4227. Jeff's in Tucson wants to talk about Perloff's beloved Philadelphia Eagles. Hey, Jeff, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good, Maggie. How are you?
We're doing great, dude.
Good. One of the things I want to comment on is that so our quarterback is like one hit away from being like in purgatory. So does he continue to run in? Do he even get in the game? My second comment, I'm unlikely a Browns fan from life, Ohio State grad, and go Cavs. Look at that matchup tomorrow night. Appreciate you, long-time listener.
Oh, Jeff, thanks so much. Okay, little to unpack there, Perloff. Any chance Jalen Hurts does not play in this game?
I don't think so. I'd be floored if the headline passed that Jalen Hurts is out. Because I was watching the game, it just did not look like, when I think of a catastrophic concussion, which are awful, that was not that. I can't picture it in my mind's eye. Can you?
No, but again, I didn't think he'd be in the protocol for 2 weeks.
Well, we knew he'd be in the protocol for 1 week because it's very hard to get out of the if you get a concussion on Sunday, it's hard to get out of the protocol by Friday. It rarely happens. So the next week was meaningless week 18 game. That was weird. We weren't even paying attention. So maybe there's extenuating circumstances because of the timing. That's what I'm kind of assuming. Like if week 18 was a must win, I think he would have been out there.
Yeah, I guess I see it a little as either you're in the protocol or you've passed the protocol.
No, see, I don't take the protocol seriously for even a half a second. Those are all malleable depending on what the team needs.
So, okay. Ohio State.
Do you think it's like hard science, by the way? Like the protocol? Give me a break. I've seen guys who literally don't even know what city they're in go in the next play at least a dozen times this year.
Ohio State, a 5.5-point favorite over Texas. We're talking about Jeff's favorite teams now. And I'll tell you guys which way I'm leaning.
I think you and I are competing over that game because we make picks. Like I mean, is there...
I don't know who's picking against Ohio State right now.
I mean, 5.5. Are you kidding me? They're going to blow the doors off Texas the way they are playing right now.
Hard to find a path for Texas here with the way that Ohio State's playing.
I mean, Texas has got that defense, and maybe I think people might say, well, Ohio State will turn back into the team that played against Michigan, like just slow down the operation a little bit.
Yeah, I guess Chip Kelly's going to have to go into some kind of a coma. I'm not really sure. And then... what do we have? What else did he want to say? Tomorrow night, Thunder, Cavs. So you get the top team in the Western Conference against the top team in the Eastern Conference?
Both of these teams have been playing, and we complain about the regular season. Both of these teams are not playing like tank ball or, load management ball. These teams have been playing great regular season, so it should be a good game.
Thunder are on a 15-game winning streak. Cavs are on a 10-game winning streak. Collision course.
This is what dreams are made of.
Yeah. Cavs, Thunder.
I mean, listen. Throw out the record books when these two franchises get together.
Story, mystery.
Yeah, man, the Cavs and the Sonics.
What about them?
It's storied franchises.
Oh, I thought you were mentioning like that they had some
but
great
they have no connection to each other.
Like,
no,
I remember
LeBron
the
did
finals.
LeBron played the Thunder in the finals. That's almost.
He was just with the Heat.
Yeah,
LeBron played against the
right city.
LeBron played against the Sonics like once or twice.
Yeah, I was thinking. Cavs, Sonics, like have they ever even played each other? Like different conferences.
Yeah. Cavs, Thunder. I don't know about this.
Sean Kemp played on both franchises, by the way. That is something to note.
He did.
There you go.
Wasn't so great in Cleveland, as I recall.
No, that part of it wasn't that good.
Let's
Those
forget
uniforms
that
were
part.
cool. Those uniforms were cool, though. Those light blue and black, that logo. Cool logo.
Yeah, Sean Kemp let himself go toward the end of the career.
Well, maybe we're starting a new era of Cavs, Thunder. This is the new era. They become huge rivals, and they meet in the finals 10 times in a row.
Shea versus Donovan. Yeah, the new era of Thunder Cavs in the rivalry. The storied rivalry between Cleveland and Oklahoma City.
I think it's really hard to tell in the load management era. If you mentioned those gaudy win streaks, like, does that mean anything? Like, it used to be the best regular season teams would often be in the finals. Is that the trend now? Like, those are big win streaks.
Massive. I
don't think we know. Like, how much does it mean now?
I think it still means a lot because these teams, the Thunder particularly, because that's the team I follow. I love Shea. Like, they've had high-profile matchups against teams that clearly were up for them. The Knicks played a game like it was Game 7, and people are still killing tips for it. The Celtics, just a couple nights ago, also up for that game, and they beat both of those teams. So I think the Thunder are now becoming a team where it's like when they come into your building or you go there, you want to make a statement, and they're still holding firm. Now, the Cavs, them I'm a little more skeptical about, but I think this is a game to watch if you are trying to pay attention to what may be important in April and June.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, listen, your 76ers will be a litmus test.
I don't agree.
Can they flip the switch and somehow make the playoffs?
I don't agree because I saw what Luka, at the trade deadline, the Mavs all of a sudden got 2 defenders, and all of a sudden they got hot in the playoffs, and Minnesota somehow knocked off Denver. Like, I'm not convinced that the regular season is that important.
At the same time, Boston was the best team wire to wire.
They were good.
And I kept trying to tell you guys they were the most talented team, and nobody wanted to believe me. And then they went and just destroyed the Mavericks. I mean, I think it's a mix. I think the teams that are really good, they will have good records. There are some teams that may be fugazi, and maybe they'll get shown. I think that the Thunder, they look serious, though. They would scare me.
There's a lot of historic perception to say, oh, man, the Thunder Cavs, that's an NBA Finals preview on a Wednesday night. Like, that just is not something that's ever been in our NBA vocabulary.
Listen, Jeff in Tucson just called us up to talk about it.
Yeah, no, I hope he's right. That would be super fun for the NBA. Just get those massive markets into the finals.
855-212-4227. Yeah, New York, LA, Cleveland, Oklahoma
Dodgers,
City.
Yankees, Thunder, Cavs, same.
Well, listen, Dodgers, Yankees. What do we get? 5 games?
Stop.
Sorry, Manny. Okay, lots more to do, including, we mentioned it before. We're going to get to it. Somebody is lying, and we don't like that around here, so we call it out when people lie. We'll tell you next. M&P.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The Defensive Player of the Week is sponsored by the Navy Federal Credit Union, who proudly serves the armed forces, DoD, veterans, and their families. Their members are the mission. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. All right, Maggie, you want to jump in with your guest for Defensive Player of the Week?
Yes, I think that it is Lions cornerback Amik Robertson, who had the assignment of covering Justin Jefferson in a winner-take-all for the number 1 seed in the NFC on Sunday night. Jefferson held to 3 receptions on 9 targets for 54 yards and no touchdowns. I think Amik Robertson is the Defensive Player of the Week.
Okay, I like that. I just have to look up the name. What was the nose tackle who got the INT?
Pierce?
Was it
from the Ravens?
Was that who it was?
Yeah.
No.
See it coming.
Yeah. Oh, right, off Bailey Zappi. Right, okay. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to go with a 350-pound lineman with the big interception.
But he took a knee. We needed him to try
By the way,
to
he
run
almost
it back.
died when he took a knee. Almost twisted up his whole knee.
His knees are doing work. The guy's 350 pounds.
Almost ran out of gas.
Yeah.
He went 2 yards.
That was awesome, though.
Already on a quarter tank. That's what happened.
Yeah, that's my favorite moment of the weekend. You guys were very close. Those are 2 of my favorite moments of the weekend, actually. Those guys played great. But my defensive player of the week this
OG
week
Anunoby
is not OG. Knicks are not playing well. Trey Hendrickson, who had 3.5 sacks against the Steelers in a game that the Bengals did need to win to try to stay alive. I think Trey Hendrickson's one of the most underrated players in the NFL. We talk about T. Higgins getting paid. This guy also wants to and needs to get paid. So shout out to Trey Hendrickson, one of my favorite players in the NFL, and my defensive player of the week.
It's awesome. Jamar Chase getting paid is the big deal, too.
They got to pay everybody, and it's the wrong guy to ask when you got Mike Brown's the owner.
Well, I got to tell you right now, yes, Trey Hendrickson's amazing. Yes, they need T. Higgins, but they got to back up that truck and deliver money to Jamar Chase because he is the one. And they're not going to do it. What are they doing there in Cincinnati? You bring up a great point. Hendrickson, I've never seen a more one-man defense. Name another Bengals defender. I keep saying that. He is just, if he doesn't get to the quarterback, the other team scores every play.
Worthy, although the team lost. Andrew Bogusch. Oh, wait. First, before we go to Bogusch. Oh, sorry. They did win by 2 points, but they didn't get into the playoffs. Fine. And now they're all going to be miserable because no one's going to get paid. And Mike Brown's going to drag this out a little bit longer. Anyway, okay, before we get to Bogusch, we've got to get to some lies that were told yesterday by a few owners, Perloff. They finally came down from the Gilded Suites to explain to us why head coaches, in some cases GMs, were actually shown the door. So we're going to play a couple of clips from owners who were speaking yesterday in the NFL. We're going to tell you why they're lying.
Okay.
First is Robert Kraft, who said that firing Gerard Mayo after one season was the hardest thing he ever did.
I don't know. In my life and my business, I make certain decisions. I know when it's right, and it just happened. And it was very hard because the personal relationship I feel for Gerard and the human being he is. And I felt guilty I put him in that position. But we're moving on.
Whoa.
Well, he's not. I don't think that's a lie. I think he does feel bad. He clearly feels real. Oh, he feels terrible.
No.
You don't think he feels bad about what happened with Gerard Mayo?
Nope.
Oh, you are so wrong.
Because I think that he's the one who is not letting Gerard Mayo, he's his personally tabbed guy.
Right.
They gave him a rookie quarterback that they didn't start for the first 6 weeks, and they spent almost no money in free agency, and now he's all broken up because the team didn't win. What do you think was going to happen? You were picked to be one of the worst teams in the league, and it actually would have been better if you'd just been the worst.
Yeah, no, I think he's really upset. I think he is completely responsible for this guy being hired. Partly, I think that helped push Belichick out the door, and he screwed up. He promised this guy, you're going to be the coach, probably had a very good personal relationship with him, and basically told a friend, I'm sorry, I got to fire you. So that's hard to do.
Did he have to fire him? Why not let him? If you think he's got all this promise, why would you think that he can't get better?
I think that Kraft is looking at a short time window, and I think he doesn't think Mayo can win a Super Bowl. And I got to be honest, Mayo did make a bunch of mistakes. I would get an offensive guy in there with Drake May. I totally get what he's doing. But you don't think he felt bad? You think he's like, I don't even care about this guy? See, I think that Robert Kraft really gets emotionally attached to people.
Okay, here's Shad Khan.
You're so wrong on this one. Because Robert Kraft definitely gets very attached to people. But go ahead.
Shad Khan is the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, so he's keeping his GM, fired the head coach, but he would consider changing the GM if the new coach thinks they should.
If they were to say, I would like to reevaluate the front office and the general manager, what would your response be?
My response would be, how would you improve it? And then if it is credible, you want to do it, okay?
Okay. Trent Baalke was sitting next to him, by the way, when he said this. You know what happens here? We're going to talk about it more with our next clip. Actually, let's save it. Perloff, do you want to say something about Shad Khan?
Well, yeah, Albert Breer, Monday Morning Quarterback, said that there is a chance that, he said this even before he made that comment, that they do actually ultimately change GM this offseason, maybe even after the draft. Let Baalke run the draft because you don't want to bring in, he's already done a lot of the scouting work. So that's possible with Jacksonville.
Both the Jets and the Bills have pulled that in our lifetimes, and it's a bad idea.
Well, it's just hard to bring in a GM right now. They're a mess right now, but I can't believe this is a huge mistake because they could have gotten Ben Johnson. They screwed it up.
Well, we don't know. They might still get Ben Johnson.
I don't think he's even going to interview there.
Crazy. All right, final one. Owners saying crazy things yesterday. Here's John Mara, the owner of the Giants, keeping Brian Daboll and Joe Shane, but they better fix the Giants and fast.
How long will it take to improve the product, John?
It better not take too long, Bruce, because I've just about run out of patience.
Oh, you ran out of patience,
Yeah.
John. Okay. Yeah, that's nice to know, but...
So this is what Shad Khan could be doing, and this is what John Mara is definitely doing. If you want to say how bad franchises stay bad, you just basically put your head coach and GM on the hot seat with a year to go. So what do you think that GM's going to do? Spend your money to the high heavens to try to save your job. And then when you don't, now the next guy is saddled with all the big contracts that you just handed out, yet you're going to be saying we're going in a different direction now. We call this one the Gettleman. He was a master at this.
This is why I drink.
So that's why.
And so this is what these owners set up. GMs who feel desperate, so they go out and spend, and they tie themselves to bad contracts, and then they get fired.
John Mara was fascinating in all the wrong ways yesterday. That was like a 5-minute Q&A, maybe 8 answers, and every single answer contradicted the first half by the time he was done.
Yep.
It was nuts. Like, you just
Never
played
seen
it.
him like that before.
Yeah.
Never seen him like that. He's, we have a little experience with John Mara. I've
I
interviewed
don't.
him
What do you
several
mean?
times.
He's usually consistent, you're saying?
I think he's usually as truthful as he can be, and this felt like he's keeping these guys for one reason and one reason only, because he doesn't want to look like he's pulling the trigger too fast on them again. And it's this revolving door. There's no way you can back up that the team's headed in the right direction. They've literally gotten worse every single year. There's no evidence for this, and he generally doesn't contradict himself or lie like this. These were just lies.
He said they had a good offseason last year, but then couldn't say that the team was actually better than they were when Shane took over. It was crazy. You're right. He should have just picked a sentence and just repeated it over and over again and never answered any questions, because trying to answer them, he defeated himself midway through his thought, because it began with irrational defense of them, and then it went back to all the reasons why they should be fired.
Hey, I have a question. Okay, so you guys both know there's a general statement: bad owner, bad team, and they've been a bad team. So is he a bad owner? Is the reason they've struggled since 2011 because of him?
I think that he's become a bad owner in this way. They're showing loyalty to people behind the scenes in the front office who do not deserve it.
But didn't he show loyalty before that? Like, why did it work?
Because I think those people, the game is either passing them by or they're hanging on to trying to find the next Eli Manning, like literally finding a carbon copy. It's silly. That's where it is to me. So I think the loyalty is
clinging to the past.
That, I think, to everyone but the head coaches, and he's listening to Bill Belichick and bringing in Joe Judge, which was, to me, the worst of the hires. Joe Judge was not ready.
It just feels to me like it wasn't just John, as you guys heard. It was Shad. It was Robert Kraft. There's a group of owners where I feel like their time really should be up, and they should be either handing it off to their kids, or selling the team, or moving on, because these guys all sound like Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
We all make fun of how bad Jerry Jones is and how bad Woody Johnson are, and both of those guys also super old. And I don't think we talk about that enough with Woody Johnson. Like, I just think these guys, even a Kraft and even a Mara, who are great owners, they should not be involved as much as they are. And I think that they're the reasons why their teams are so bad.
So Woody Johnson's teenage son should be running the Jets?
Maybe
someone a little older than teenage.
Someone in the middle?
Split the difference.
We're friends with Tony Khan.
Between
he seems like a cool
76
guy.
and 18, can we get someone in the middle?
I saw a headline on ESPN.com. It was the fourth headline down. Jets owner: my teenage sons will not pick the next coach. I was like, this is a headline?
Yeah.
This is really happening.
Yeah.
It's real life.
It's why they are, and we joked about the Saints. I think, we would do that when he was out. Like, there's an irrelevant franchise right now. But I keep seeing the Jets as the worst landing spot than the Saints. And the Saints have no cap space. They're locked into Derek Carr for next year. But nobody wants the Jets. Nobody wants Woody Johnson. They are an utter embarrassment. And somehow the Giants are only slightly better.
I mean, the Jets and the Giants don't have a quarterback. At least the Saints have Derek Carr.
And the Giants don't even have the number one pick anymore to sell to a guy to use on his quarterback.
Imagine if the Jets had just signed Derek Carr. They might be in a better spot.
Yeah. He might have got hurt too.
Probably.
Yeah. This. I do like EJ's ageist theory, by the way. Probably a little mean, but probably true, actually, if you look at the numbers. It's not looking good for a lot of these guys.
It just is what it is. I'm just looking at. I mean, you guys heard that.
I know, but no, it definitely sounds like guys are definitely getting up there. Of course they are, but I don't think age. You can be a bad owner and be young. Dan Snyder is how old? 55. I mean, he was a terrible owner. But you can be young and be a bad owner too.
Yes, I do think the Lions, their ownership got old, wasn't good, and you sort of pass the torch a little bit, and then they fix things. So maybe that is a solution. I mean, I don't know, like, what are the premier franchises now? The Chiefs?
Run by the kids.
Run by the kids. Yeah, you might have a point.
Yeah. Ravens,
so
not old ownership. Again, I'm not. And my thing is, there are people who are 90 years old who are sharp as a tack. It's not necessarily about being. I'm saying these gentlemen,
these guys
particularly. I listen to them. I've heard Kraft and I've heard Maurer before. They did not sound like that.
But don't forget, and Perloff doesn't even know in the first place. The Giants have been bad for like a decade now. So a decade ago, John Mara wasn't old. He was just bad at picking people to run his football program.
That's fair.
Now he's old on the back end of it.
How old is Mark Davis? He's 69 already.
That haircut is ageless.
Make him look like he's 16. But
I think I would have given you like a 30-year range that I would agree with.
Yeah, right? Isn't that crazy?
Anywhere between 50 and 80, I would have went, yep, that's right.
I'm like,
50 and
my
80.
counterpoint to you, EJ, was Mark Davis isn't exactly running the show the right way.
True.
But he's actually old now, too.
Wait, how old is he?
He's 69.
Oh,
He's
that's
older.
not old.
He's just, but he's older than I thought he was.
I think Vegas keeps you young or ages you in dog years. There's no in between. Well, Bogusch.
Mike Vrabel to New England. Maybe not a done deal. Maybe the Patriots will pick Lions OC Ben Johnson, we discussed earlier this morning, and maybe Vrabel then goes to the Bears instead. At the very least, Vrabel slated to meet with Chicago tomorrow. The Saints want to meet with him as well. We also joked this morning that Ben Johnson is not even considering those Jets, but fellow Lions coordinator Aaron Glenn, he is the former Jet player, expected to interview as soon as tomorrow with Gang Green. Their list of candidates also includes Vance Joseph, Matt Nagy, Arthur Smith, Texans offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick, and Rex Ryan, who is interviewing today with the team in Florida. Packers wideout Christian Watson suffered a torn ACL in the regular season finale. And you remember Jordan Love hurt his right elbow in that game. Matt LaFleur said yesterday the QB's fine. He wasn't sure, though, if Love would have to miss any practice time this week. Last night's FCS title game in Frisco, Texas, ending in a unique way.
Bison punt from their 40. The long snap to Steindorf. He gets it away. Booming it over everybody. Clock is running. It goes down inside the 25. Rolls inside the 20.
Don't touch
Clock
it.
at 1. Bison have done it! And DSU rushing out of the field. The dynasty has come back to reclaim its rightful throne.
That's from Bison Radio. They punt out a 35-32 win over top-seeded and previously unbeaten Montana State. Again, 35-32 the final after NDSU led 21-3 at the half. They hold on for their 10th national title, the most all-time by 4. All 10 have come in the last 14 years. Is left foot a new Joel Embiid injury, Perloff?
Who cares? I have
Either
no
way,
idea.
he didn't play last night.
Left foot?
Yeah.
I don't remember, but maybe.
I think it's
his
new.
right knee is the bad one, right?
Right. He did not play last night with the Suns in town.
Beal gives to Oso in the lane, out to a wide-open Durant for 3, and he cans it in the left corner right in front of the Suns bench. 20 on the night for KD. Suns go up 14 with 3 minutes left, and a timeout for Nick Nurse and the 76ers.
That's John Bloom, Suns Radio. Phoenix, a 109-99 win. Durant scoring 23. 25 from Bradley Beal in his first game since being demoted to the bench.
A little difficult, I'm not gonna lie. But when coach made his decision, you live with it. Either pout with it or do something about it and just go compete, do what I do.
There are trade rumors involving Beal, and there are reports that other players are unhappy with Mike Budenholzer's rotations in Phoenix. Guys, back to you.
Man, NBA players unhappy? Get out of here. That never happens. Thank you, Bogusch. Coming up, Micah Parsons is out here recruiting, as EJ would say, in the streets. We'll tell you who he wants to join him with the Dallas Cowboys next. It's M&P.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
That sound, it's our Cowboy Quickie. Unfortunately, we do not have an update for you on Mike McCarthy's future as the head coach of the Cowboys. We do not know yet. We know that the Chicago Bears are interested in interviewing him, but Jerry has got to give it the okay because McCarthy's under contract until January 14th. So
yeah, and you know that Jerry does not like to pay people for not working for him. He'll get every last ounce out of that contract.
Totally. So the waiting game, the staring contest, whatever you want to call it, continues between the owner and the head coach. Meanwhile, Micah Parsons, never shy, Pearl, pass rusher, out here on social media, tweeting to who else? Tyreek Hill, saying we can be the fastest duo in the league. We also don't have state income taxes. There you go. Neither does Florida.
Neither does Florida.
Right.
Yesterday I said that Tyreek Hill is washed. I got to be honest. That's an interesting spot for Tyreek Hill. As a legit number 2, maybe that could work. I'm down on 31-year-old receivers. That would be an interesting combination.
So, yeah, listen, to me, it's just weird. How did this Tyreek Hill thing go downhill so quickly? He's in Miami. I get it. Tua's injuries have definitely hurt the team, but he seemed like he completely understood, hey, it was just a bad year because Tua got hurt. And now all of a sudden he's putting a meme up of himself on social media, photoshopping his face on Antonio Brown's shirtless body when Antonio Brown quit in the middle of a game.
It's a wide receiver, Maggie. They're just wired differently.
Yes,
Of course, Tyreek Hill wants out. Every wide receiver wants out of everywhere. A.J. Brown, I'm telling you, A.J. Brown will complain every year. Deebo Samuel, he's not had a single year in his NFL career where he didn't complain about something.
Yeah, Stephon Diggs had to leave Buffalo.
Yeah, I just think, and by the way, I don't think it's a bad thing. You need this massive, massive ego to be a wide receiver. You just have to believe every time I run a route, you should throw it to me because I'm going to score a touchdown for you. That's what you want out of a receiver. But it creates these bizarre late career situations where the receivers are never happy. You notice when we talk about guys who want to leave their team, like 45%, no, actually like 60% of the time, it's a receiver.
Yeah.
So I don't know why. This didn't surprise me at all.
And Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, who feels like he's wired like a wide receiver.
Yeah, even though he's a corner. That's your cowboy cookie.
That's another old guy who actually is, he is so good.
He also tweeted yesterday
some
long quote trying to be metaphorical, and we get it. You don't want to be there.
I get it. Miami doesn't really have much of a future,
Well, they're keeping Mike McDaniel. They're happy with him. They're keeping Chris Greer, the general manager. How these guys get to keep being general managers and they do not win playoff games is just beyond me. But again, Mike Tomlin gets to keep his job. He doesn't want a playoff game. We're closing in on a decade. I don't get it.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's definitely, you talked about the Bears' playoff futility. I mean, the Dolphins, they've done nothing.
They haven't won a playoff game since 2000. It's crazy.
Did they win one in 2000? I know they haven't been
2001.
to the NFC title game since 90 or something. AFC title game since 1990. And we complain about the Cowboys not winning. Like, they've done relatively well compared to some of these franchises.
It's funny because we don't love it when guys get fired after a year, unless it's like a Nathaniel Hackett or someone who really deserves it. But like, did Gerard Mayo really deserve to get fired after a year? Do you not think he could get better? He's been in your building for basically 14 years, either a player or as an assistant. But the other part is guys who get to stay for too long, that's also a problem, where you get dudes where the team gets so loyal to them or so comfortable that they just get to stay, like a Chris Greer.
Well, on the GM side, I see what you're saying. I mean, like, listen, the Eagles moved on from Andy Reid, and at the first it looked like a horrible idea because they went to Chip Kelly and flamed out really fast. So it's hard. There's no one size fits all. I mean, there are some one and dones that everyone agreed on, like Nathaniel Hackett in Denver. But it's
Urban
interesting.
Meyer.
You look at Gerard Mayo, like, why did Brian Callahan get to keep his job in Tennessee? Was there a single positive thing that came out of the season? Nothing.
No.
And he made a terrible mistake sticking with Will Levis too long when he should have gone to Mason Rudolph.
Well, I wonder if that was coming from upstairs.
Yeah, maybe that's why he gets to keep his job, because he was actually following orders. Good point.
Perhaps. Now they have the number 1 overall pick, Tennessee, so we'll see what they do. Either seems like Shador or Cam Ward. We have plenty of time to dissect that, but I think we're both fans of both of those guys. Although I think not to put words in your mouth, but I think you're.
I don't know this if it's a 1-2 quarterback draft. I mean, listen, it almost always is. I just don't know if these guys are. I heard a really interesting analysis the other day. If you had the 6 quarterbacks from last year, does Cam Ward or Shador Sanders go over any of them? Certainly not the top 3. They're definitely behind Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May. But do they go over Bo Nix? Do they go over
JJ McCarthy?
I don't know. Do they? Cam Ward 2 years ago was he was out in the Pac-12. He was good, but he was nothing like this. He's like, you could argue he's a one-year wonder.
I know, but I don't think that scares away NFL teams now. I think all you need is really one good year because, the way that college football is now, guys are just going to bounce around, and then you mature, you get a little older, and you get a little more seasoned. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
I don't know. Caleb Williams had multiple good years. Drake May had better, I think, year before this draft year.
I think Bo Nix
Daniel-
had 2 years at Oregon.
Yeah, Yeah, I'm not sure that's. I see what you're saying. It is a new world where you like Joe Burrow could just show up for his last year with the right coach and it work out. I don't know. It's just it's definitely a weird draft class. And if it's not them, like it's not like there's any other surefire thing. Travis Hunter would be your clear number one. But you don't even know what position that guy is. So it is a complicated draft. It's definitely not. It's not one of those drafts where like, wow, there's 10 surefire Hall of Famers.
My prediction, I want to say Cam Ward 1, Shador 2. But if it's Cleveland making the pick, I don't think Dion is going to let Shador go to Cleveland. Anyway, we got a lot of time to unpack that. But that would be my general, that would be my big board. Well, I can't give you the number because we're out of time. Shoot. EJ Stewart, thank you. Manny Rodriguez, thank you. Andrew Bogusch, Andrew Kaplan, the Weedos, the coffee drinkers, the callers. You guys are awesome. Can't do the show without you. See you tomorrow.
You're in a 5-minute break.